Hi there, it's your second favorite DP right here, okay? No, that's Deadpool, you silly little Hufflepuff. Anyways, I'm gonna need you to shut up that pretty little mouth of yours and pay attention because the show's about to start, alright? And, I don't know about you, but I know who's my vote for sexiest ex-soldier turned pop culture show host. Alright, enough foreplay, let's get on with the show.
Broadcasting live from the basement of a Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Welcome, one and all. Today is March the 28th, 2023. This is episode 128 of Pop Culture Warriors, the show where I stay up to date on all the ins and outs of what's happening in pop culture so you don't have to. I am CQ. I'm your Pop Culture Warrior. And joining me right here is tonight's man in the bubble. He's one of our special guest co-hosts. He's the man with many opinions. He's the coastie with the mosty. Guys, give it up for Massey. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
How you doing? You look so sleepy.
I'm good, man. I'm good. No, I'm kidding, man. I'm stoked. I'm stoked to be here. It's gonna be like, what opinions? I don't care. I don't care about
whatever. It is what it is. I was saying how dapper you look tonight. He shaved just for us. He combed his hair.
I did. I'm tired of you complaining about the tickles.
It always tickles. Anyway,
it's like now it's just like Velcro. You know, it's fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, we got so much to talk about already. Scott, he said, I feel like this past week has been a banger for topics. You are right, good sir. It has been a busy week in pop culture. There is so much going on. Where to start? Well, first, we pump the brakes. We do have a guest joining us later tonight.
Yes.
He's an incredibly talented voice actor. He's done, I can't even count how many amazing things he's done, things that you've probably heard of, from going all the way back to like the animated Back to the Future cartoon series, right? Who remembers that shit? All the way up to like, he was the voice of Iron Man in the recent Midnight Suns video game. He was the voice of Captain America Steve Rogers in Marvel's What If on Disney Plus. Like, this dude has done it all, been it all. Trust me. Wait till you see and hear all the stuff that this guy's been a part of. It's truly mind-blowing and incredible. I can't wait. So he'll be on later tonight. Quick shout out to every one of you joining us here at the top of the hour. I see Pete. I see Mike. I see Scott. Hi, Jenny. Jenny's in the house. Who else we got? Heath. Aaron calling it out. Hercules, Spectacular Spidey in the house. That's right. Who else we got? Heath, Captain Wayne. What's up, buddy? Lewis. Is it Lois? It's Lois. It's got to be Lois. 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 I can read. And Angry Elf, always hanging out, man. We appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Yes, he was Teen Hercules 25 years ago. That's right. He was the young Hercules in the Hercules animated Disney movie. Super cool.
I forgot about that movie. Anyway, sorry.
It was such a good. It holds up, man. I saw it not too long ago. It holds up.
I know I don't come on the show much, or haven't been, or I cancel, last minute like last time. But it never ceases to amaze me the shit that your audience throws out sometimes, as far as like cuts and stuff. I
They
have no
are
idea.
they are
It's
on
crazy.
it, man. They are on
Yeah.
it. They are on the ball. Speaking of past guests, like that segue there, we had Sean Kanan a couple weeks ago. Amazing actor and prolific guy. He sent over a couple copies of Way of the Cobra and Way of the Cobra, Welcome to the Kumite. So these are great books of his, all signed, including headshots he signed as well. So we're going to be doing giveaways.
Damn.
Probably not this week, maybe next week or the week after. But so we'll have those thrown in the giveaways as on top of all the other usual cool banger stuff that we give out.
If I was a fan of this show, I would enter so many of your giveaways.
If I like watched it or liked it, I would totally get in on that. So not tonight. I don't want to get anybody hyped. I'm just excited because they came in today. And speaking of things that came in today, this is of the new. I see where your mind went with that.
It did.
I'm gonna step over it.
Continue with the
Speaking of items I received in the mail today, these are the new shirts. With our new, I'm working with a new company that have the shirts that are releasing the shirts. You can go to pcwgear.com. I also have the big design. This is the shirt with the big design on it. The medium design. We got the small sign. We got the CQ. I have the one. It's coming. It hasn't arrived yet, but it has the CQ logo in like the Superman-esque. So you know you can like pull out the shirt and be like, ta-da! So anyway, so that's coming. I'm excited for that one. I'm gonna rock that one once it gets here.
I refuse to ever wear one of your shirts on your shows, though. I will never have it.
I will make it happen. If I deem it to be so, it shall be so.
Dude, it's the rule. You don't wear the band shirt to the band you're going to see. It's the same thing.
That's true.
It's the same thing.
I appreciate it. I'm
going to wear t-shirts for my own show, though.
Let's see. Aaron says, oh, not to mention Josh, the actor's coming on later, came back to reprise his character in Kingdom Hearts. Yes, he did. That's right. He did. Teen Hercules. He did it not only in the movie, and then there was like a video game, and then there was like a semi-cartoon thing, and then Kingdom Hearts came out years later, brought back the character, and he did the voice for that as well. That's true. Good catch. Captain Wayne says, I just want to know who delivers pizza to mutated teenage turtles in a sewer that have no money. That is that's something I don't think we're ever going to have the answer to. I don't think that we'd have the time to unpack that here. And they do have money. They steal it from the Foot Clan when they beat them up. That's my assumption. Anyway. What else? So we talked about the giveaways, we talked about the merch. What say we dive into some topics? Because I feel like we're gonna go deep today. You ready for this?
I'm so ready.
So I want to first apologize because I told Massey here, I say, hey man, you're coming on the show Tuesday. Like, I really want to talk about John Wick. And I'm like, are you gonna see it before then? And you were like, fine, I guess. And so before I give my review and kind of what's been touted and floated around, I'm curious to see what does the layman, the layperson, the unpop cultured, what you think of John Wick 4?
I think that you owe me 3 hours and $20 my friend.
Okay, so on a 1 to 10,
I hated it so much. Like maybe a 3.
Wow.
3, 4 at the top end, just for some of the choreography, and I love me some Donnie Yen. So
okay.
So I'll give us some redemption. It was just so, it was not good.
So
and
guys
you're wrong
in the chats,
if you think otherwise.
1 to 10, 10 being the greatest thing ever, 1 being the worst thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I need to know if you've seen John Wick 4. Let me know.
I'm gonna go with a 4. But the thing is I want to think, I love the first John Wick. I think it's just a brilliantly done. I love it so much, and it's just it did like any other Hollywood movie choose to do. It picks the couple of the things that work and just leans in. And every movie they lean into the same shit a little harder. And I won't throw out spoilers. I know you're anti-spoiler on the show, but holy shit, that movie made me want to hurt myself.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're glad you're with us. We're glad you didn't end it all. First reviews coming in. Mike Larson gives it an 8. Gave it an 8.
Mike has terrible taste in movies.
Captain Wayne did say, I hope they put a John Wick skin in Warzone 2. I'm down for that. I literally just said the same words today where I was like, I don't buy skins in games. I think they're the worst waste of money. But you release a badass John Wick skin, I just think that's just fun. Yeah. That's just I'm gonna have fun with that. But okay.
But I can justify my rating of the movie if need be. But no, I want your opinion as well, though. I mean, this is a discussion. This isn't just a massy.
This is a
angry
debate. This is not a, this is
a competition. Yeah.
No, I honestly, I feel like when you rate these kind of movies, you have to rate them by their genre, right?
Yes,
you can't compare this to The Godfather or,
concur.
Starship 100%. Troopers, whatever. So within its genre, and also anytime you're talking about a sequelized one of a franchise, you then have to compare it to the rest of the franchise.
Yes.
So purely as an action film, I would rate it. Initially, I was at a 9. Like coming out of the theaters, I was at a 9. Yeah, let me. Initially, I was at a 9. I think I'm gonna downgrade it a little bit to maybe 8.5. Now, I can tell you the reason I gave it a 9 initially. It's so fucking long. It's so long. Like, I feel like they could have cut out, again, without really giving away any spoilers, they could have cut out a whole, I'm just going to say, the ring around the Rosie scene. I feel like that they could have cut out completely. And then a couple of the scenes, they could have just tightened them up a bit. Yeah. You'd have like a 2-hour 15, 2-hour 20 movie. That would be just balls to the wall great.
And maybe my opinion might have changed in that case. The length was part of my factor because there's a difference between action and activity.
Okay, I like that. It's like getting work done versus like looking like you're busy, like you're just moving papers around.
Like when you repeat the same thing over and over and over and over, it quits being action. It quits being action and just starts being boring.
Yeah, I think, and that's what's something that made like John Wick 1 stand out, right? It was the choreography, the badass fight scenes, really good. Right. And then 2 kind of added to the lore and gave us a little bit more backstory and things.
Right.
3 went kind of like globe-trotting kind of. I do think there's just a ton of action in this movie, an absolute metric ton of action. And because of that, I do think we saw some repetitiveness in some of the fighting. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's what was brilliant about especially the first one is every fight scene in the movie was fresh. Like everyone that kicked off, there were similarities, there were ties, but it was new. And can I just say, enough of the bulletproof suits? Holy fucking hell, that was, god damn it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you. And like I said, I love John Wick, but also Keanu seemed unwell. Like he seemed obviously. It was almost like watching, the new Indiana Jones trailer for 3 hours. It's kind of what I felt like for some of the movie.
I feel like he's aged out. He's aged out of the John Wick.
Even talking, I was like, he didn't seem well.
There's a guy named Joey in the chat saying, "Fuck that Massey guy." So just
fair.
So you got a fan. I just wanted to let you know that. So I do feel like there's certain aspects of it that were repetitive. Stylistically, I go, okay, 80% of that movie is a fight scene. I would say about some type of fight scene.
Yeah.
And when you've, like in the first movie, I felt like John Wick could do anything because we knew nothing about him.
Right.
But now as we've developed this lore, it's like, oh, his fight style is grounded in wrestling, right? His fight style is grounded in this. And I felt like, so it's like every fight move now has to revolve. It's wrestling, right? If you haven't seen part 2 or part 3, he's revolved as like a Roman Greco wrestling is the foundation of all his fighting skills. So I feel like every fight scene had to involve him grabbing a leg, grabbing an arm, doing a hip toss. So when you limit someone's fighting style that way,
Right.
there's only so much you can do. So what happens is if you have 4
You
fight scenes
You
spread
can
out
make him
across the
get hit by
movie,
cars way too many times.
yes, fall out of buildings, like just break bones that like he shouldn't be able to walk or anything like that. But anyway, I will say there's one scene in particular, again, not spoiling anything, but it's shot from a top-down view
Yes.
that I think is
yes.
one of the most amazing, well done, well choreographed, visually stunning pieces of action in any movie ever done.
I will concur with you 100%.
Visually stunning and shot, and in the business they call it a oneer. It looks like a one shot.
Yeah.
But obviously they I think they were just very clever in how they cut the scenes together.
Yeah.
But it looks like a one shot the whole way through, and it's just gorgeous. So
And
gorgeous.
like I said, and I'm not going to take away from the things that were great in the movie, but just
Yeah.
as a package deal, those
As a
are
whole.
those are the 4 points I gave them for those the 4 good things in the movie.
But -6. No, I think I definitely so for me to give it a 9 originally and now kind of lower it to an 8.5 had to do with the length of the movie. Had to do kind of like what you said. I knocked it less for the repetitiveness. I definitely knocked it a little, but not a lot. I do feel like there were certain threads weaved through the movie that were kind of mystery for the sake of mystery. There's certain characters we get no backstory on. There's other characters we get no kind of closure on. I kind of want to talk about the ending of the movie. Okay,
That was that was good. That was one of the points.
Yes. Here you go. I'm gonna put up a spoiler warning. So if you're listening, you've got time to mute, lower the volume. As soon as we're done this part, I'll remove the spoiler warning so you don't get lost in the shuffle. But okay, 3, 2, 1. So first thing is the black Mr. Nobody. I want to say the black guy, Mr. Nobody. It's literally never given a name, never given any kind of backstory. We don't know how he's tracking Wick through the whole movie. We don't know why.
Yeah.
And on the drop of a hat, he's like, "Man, you didn't shoot my dog. We cool, bro." Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel deserved. So that's why, again,
his dog was one of the reasons I took major points off that movie. I hated the use of the dog so much. It was terrible.
Okay, fair.
It was to sound super pretentious about it. It was very contrived.
So contrived.
No, I just
fair
meant,
point.
no,
Fair
like
point.
to me, it was a waste of potential. They could have done a lot of cool stuff with it, but they went for the normal tropes of, oh, the dog's going to bite the dude in the balls.
Yeah,
he's gonna attack the guy in the balls, and he's like,
jump on this guy. Yeah,
yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Anyway.
Anyway,
Go back to what you're. I'm sorry.
and then
I have strong opinions, CQ.
That's
strong
good.
opinions.
No, I want to hear him. And then the character, the blind guy Kane. I feel like he was more of a fleshed out character, but only slightly so. Like he's fighting for his daughters, whatever, and it is what it is. I don't know.
I had never heard Donnie Yen speak English before. I was like, damn, his English is good. Or they have a really good overdubber, one of the two. I was very impressed.
It's pretty good. I do feel like the card scene, like I feel like they had to add it because it's like, well, you have to have a car scene in John Wick, and we hadn't had a car scene up until that point. But I didn't particularly like it. I didn't think it added
30-minute car scene.
Yeah, I didn't think it added anything, or like, technically shot. I'm sure it was amazing to work with and move things around.
Yeah.
There is the whole John Wick dies at the end of the thing. So for those of you that might be curious, it's not as concrete as you think it is. So they haven't announced any further John Wick stories.
Thank God.
We do know Keanu Reeves is coming back as John Wick because they're doing a spinoff called The Ballerina about the female ballerina assassin, and that takes place between part 3 and part 4.
Right.
So it's a sequel to 3, but a prequel to 4. So we will see him in the suit. He's a small part of it, but he's in it. Now the director has gone on record and saying we shot an alternate ending where it is very clear he's still alive, even though you see the tombstone and all that. There's like, it's clear he's alive. That's what his exact words are. And so taking that into account, just because they went with this ending doesn't actually mean he is dead. And there was a quote he said that it caught my attention. And he said, okay, so while the alternate ending confirms Wick's survival more directly, the director himself previously recalled that whatever the tombstone might read, that might not mean the death of who we think. When discussing the final scene, he confirmed, as far as the John Wick conundrum, we've always looked at it as a duality. There's John and there's John Wick, right?
Okay.
So at the end, the tombstone says John, but it doesn't say John Wick. So
What?
it's, it's an issue of like, or was it the other way around? It says
No,
John
it did
Wick,
have
but
did have John Wick.
is John
Yeah,
Wick?
yeah,
Okay,
his
so
name, yeah.
sorry, I got it backwards. But the idea of that, like, okay, maybe he's put to bed John Wick doesn't mean John's dead. I know,
Right.
It is.
Right.
That's what's coming from the director.
Yeah. Did you read into the last line from what's his name? Did you read into that at all, or is it?
No. What was
When
it?
he said farewell, I can't remember the last time. Basically, the farewell, my son, or farewell, son.
Yeah.
If that was a literal tying them together as his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Like Pharrell said. Yeah, I mean, there did seem to be something out of that, and we see the tattoo on his wrist to assume that he was part of that family.
Yep.
Could mean something. He is returning in the ballerina film, so maybe we see more along to that.
Maybe.
I'm gonna take off the spoiler warning, so we're gonna stop talking spoilers. Where the hell I put that? There it is. All right, so spoilers are done. I will say something fascinating. I was talking to somebody about it. And he goes, Keanu doesn't talk a lot in the movie, and so somebody counted. He only says 380 words in a 2 hour and 49-minute movie about his character.
And when he does speak, his voice is so shaky. That's what I mean. He seemed unwell.
Yeah. I always find it funny because, and I don't know if it's just the character of John Wick or if it's Keanu making choices or that's just the way Keanu speaks, but it's like, hey, do you need a gun? It's not like, yeah, I need a gun. It's, yeah. Like every time it's, okay. Like it's just, every line is so, like he throws his whole into it.
Ted lives forever, man. Ted lives forever.
Righteous. Like I was just waiting for that, like, sick, tubular, like, all right.
Yeah, it's great.
69, dude.
Yeah.
So this is interesting from the co-writer of the movie, Michael Finch. He told the Wall Street Journal that it's surprising how little Reeves wants to talk in the John Wick movies. He wants his character to be more sullen and withdrawn and not speak much. He says it's actually a shock because when you work with him to see how dedicated he is to not speaking in the movie. He also added that he worked with Reeves during a 9-hour script writing session for the film in which Keanu played every character. So they would do the script writing together and he would act out every character of the movie.
That's
so
amazing.
I would love to see this 9-hour cut of the one-man show Keanu Reeves doing John Wick. He's like, get this man a gun. Yeah. It's like, we got to get to the hotel.
Oh,
right.
Dude. Masturbation challenge accepted.
I just want 9 hours of John
That'd be
Wick.
Amazing.
Of Keanu Reeves playing the one John Wick, the one-man show.
Off Broadway.
Yeah, off Broadway. So looking at through the chats, the Tombstone Spider-Man doesn't mean Peter is dead. Yeah, that's true. It's true. These guys are right. Mr. Bean for John Wick. You guys are fan casting. Imagine if Stephen Hawking played John Wick. You guys are out of control. You guys are out of control.
Yeah.
So we talked about the alternate ending. We talked about thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We obviously don't have any more confirmed John Wick movies moving forward. Warner Brothers, I read an article where an exec was like, we want to make 20 of these things. Which
of course they do.
Of course. They're making billions of dollars. Of course they do.
It's the reason they keep making Batman movies. It's the same reason.
Poor Keanu, man. Like I was watching, did you see any of like the training clips he did for this one?
No.
Like there's him like in the gym and like they're doing the nunchuck scene and they're doing all the rehearsals, and it's like, huh, yeah, huh, yeah. And I'm like, the poor guy looks like he's about to pass over and die. Like,
Yeah,
come on, Keanu's a national treasure. We gotta, we gotta give him a break. So
I
yeah,
do,
but
dude. I love Keanu. 100%. That's why it hurts me. It hurts me to see the John Wick movies just getting worse with every iteration. But you know, it happens. It happens in Hollywood with sequels. I get it. And
Peter,
obviously, with me here and all my filmmaking talent and expertise, I
right,
obviously am a great source of credit.
your background in cinematography
I mean,
is much appreciated.
it's no Velocipaster. Let me tell you that right now.
Very fair enough. Fair enough. What was it? Oh, Pete says, did they say this was gonna best movie of the year? Some people, IGN rated it as a 10 out of 10. They
Of
said
course they
this
did.
is, the best action movie of all time, practically. I said I did enjoy it. I did find it good. Personally, I like John Wick when we get to see him. How do I say this? Most of the John Wick movies from 1, 3, and 4, especially, we see John Wick on his back foot. We see him reacting to a situation, right? He's trying to stay out of it and he's forced back into it only just to get to the next day. There was the one part of part 2 that I cling to, and it was when we get to see John Wick in official John Wick mode, right? He's forced out of retirement. Hey, you got this marker. You have to kill this lady, my sister, it turns out to be. And you see him planning. You see him organizing. You see him setting up guns well in advance of the fight. You see him sneaking in. You see the stealth. You see the tactics. You see the preparation. I'm drawn to that.
Mhm.
I want to see John Wick when he's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
Not the older, run down, trying to retire and domesticate himself, John Wick. The neutered John Wick.
And I think that maybe if I can tag one little bit onto this,
Please.
one of the things that bothered me about John Wick 4 was maybe just that, because it seemed like, yeah, he was going to kill everybody, but it seemed like a movie of him just getting himself out of situations so he could get to that end point. Like, there is outside of the normal John Wick, there wasn't any tactics, there wasn't planning. It was literally just him kind of meandering from one scene to another to try to get to the end point, but just a wrecking ball. Yeah. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point. But it was seemed out of his character in the movie seemed different than his character. Not consistent, not different, obviously different, but not consistent with the motivation, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that was the last thing that kind of irked me about this one is, and I got to be careful because we're not doing spoilers, but the whole intention of this one is, hey, there's a new big bad. There's a new head of the table.
Right.
And like, if I can beat that guy, if I can kill them, whatever, I'm done. And everyone keeps telling him, like, even if you do this, it changes nothing. Like, nothing will change. Somebody else will step in place and everything. And that's the thing. He's not trying to bring down the hierarchy of assassins. But when you've worked your way from local crime boss to city crime boss to, head of New York to like the table to now the head of the table, like it feels as if you're dismantling this organization, right? I think they've said it in the movie where it was like, this will, shake the bones of the institution. This will, begin the downfall because it'll topple everything that's, held for centuries. But it's like, no, win or lose, nothing changes. Nothing changes. And I feel like that's, and the stakes of that, I think maybe I felt weird about it. Right?
Yeah.
I felt like I don't know. It felt weird to me.
I hope I'm ruining it for you just a little bit as we talk about it. I hope you're starting to like it a little bit less.
No, you'll never sway me. I still think it's a good action movie, man. I took my wife; she was into it, and she's not a super like action movie kind of person,
right?
But she enjoyed it. But
It's not a bad action movie. It's not a bad action movie on its own right. No. But like when as soon as I take it into context of the other ones is when it drops off. Like if I had never seen a John Wick movie and I walked in and saw it, I'd have had my ass blown off. I'd have been like, this is fantastic. But
Yeah.
knowing what we had and now knowing what we have, nah, it's kind of like having all these expectations, right? Like you dated this smoking hot girl, like in college, like I'm talking smoking hot,
Yeah.
and then like you just drifted apart. But you're like, you find out you get to talking on the online, and you're like, oh yeah, we're totally gonna hook up, and then you get in person, and it is not the same person anymore.
Yeah.
And then you do it anyway because obviously the opportunity's
Because
there.
I mean,
But
why not?
but then you regret it the whole time, and you just want your money back.
Gonna skip right over that. Uh, you know what? You know what's the one thing that's irked? Like, I think one is the best movie as like start to finish, um, character, emotional arc. Like, it's just the best singular movie of the franchise. But personally, I think two is the best from kind of like the lore and seeing him at his best and like really taking what they did with one and upping it to 100. I think three kind of they jumped the shark, so to speak.
Mhm.
Which is funny because I think four, they pulled it back a little bit and actually improved in certain areas. But anyway, my point being, something that has irked me since two, because in one, we didn't really see this, but it started in two and it got worse and worse. This idea that there's just millions of assassins everywhere. Because at that point they outnumbered normal people. But two, it's the fact that in situations, normal people don't react to anything. Like, is this a world where it's normal to see you're driving down the street and you just drive through people shooting, and you're not like, oh my God, you just just driving normally.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
you're at a club. Oh, look, that dude just got his head chopped off. Oh, look, that guy got shot 15 times. He's bleeding all over my shoes. Like, it just, like, there's either an argument of all those people, like, are just so dull to what's happening around them. Or B, like, they're also assassins that just didn't want to get in on the hunt for John Wick for some reason. Or henchmen. It bugs the living daylight. Because like in one and two, you saw him trying to be very reserved and be very stealthy.
Right.
And then like starting in two and then going into three and four, you started to see him like just openly. They're just like I remember that one point where was it the scene in two where like him and what's his name, Common, they're walking through the subway, but they're shooting each other like under their arm.
Mhm.
Right. And you're like, okay, you could kind of get away with that. Like they're hiding the guns and shooting each other
Right.
and kind of walking through the crowd. But then like later, it's just straight up machine gunning through crowds and chopping dudes' heads. And no
totally
one
fine.
seems to care.
Totally fun.
People, all you gotta do is, all right, you guys, when you see this guy get an axe to the forehead, run screaming.
Right.
Cool. And action.
Yeah.
And then it's somewhat plausible. But it's the
I'm
idea.
just curious if the assumption of I don't know, when choreographing or making something like that, it's like, well, most people are going to be drawn to the gunfire, everything that's going on, and they're not going to pay attention necessarily what the crowd's doing, and it lets the scene look busy without detracting from the gunfire with all the people running away from it. Blah blah
Right.
blah blah blah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's just from a
Well, of course, there's
world
reasons.
building.
CQ. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, cinematographically, in regards to the cinematography, I'm sure there's a legit reason. But and it would look weird to have like just an empty dance floor with him fighting a bunch of people, I guess. But I don't know. It's just
Kill Bill.
weird. Although Captain Wayne had a great idea. He says farmer insurance commercials would be off the chain. But I raise you one. What's the dude that does Mayhem? The Mayhem commercials, give me a Mayhem commercial, but in the world of John Wick. Like you're Billy's mom and you're going to soccer practice and all of a sudden just assassins all come out of the woodwork and they're fighting. But now there's an assassin hunt on John Wick because the bounty just went to $80 million. Be protected from mayhem like me. And he's fighting John Wick. There was such an opportunity for a commercial and they did not capitalize on it.
It's true.
Oh God, that would have been awesome. Anyway, Have we beat the John Wick horse yet to death?
Probably. Probably.
All right. So there is another big storyline that came out of this past week. It's been in the news a lot. I mean, especially if you're in the nerd circles and the geek circles and that kind of thing, especially if you're into the MCU. Jonathan Majors, who is honestly one of the hottest up and coming stars since he did, what was it? What's the name of that thing? It's the HBO show, Love Country, something like that.
Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country. Thank you. Jesus Christ. I couldn't remember the name. Lovecraft Country. Thank you. Since doing that, going on to do a bunch of number of things, he's the antagonist in Creed 3. He's Kang the Conqueror now in the MCU. He's going to be he's been in the Loki series. He's in the Ant-Man movie. He's going to be in a bunch of other properties. Was recently arrested. So here's the whole a quick synopsis of what happened.
Please, for those people that don't know what's going on.
For those people that don't know what's going on. This was Saturday. So I'm going to read the whole article so you guys can get an idea. So a day after being arrested because of a domestic violence incident in New York, Jonathan Majors has received multiple charges stemming from the alleged assault. During an arraignment on Sunday, Majors was charged with assault in the third degree, 3 counts of attempted assault in the third degree, 1 count of aggravated harassment in the second degree, and 1 count of harassment in the second degree.
Damn.
So now, according to a statement released by the New York Police Department on Sunday, Majors was arrested after an incident allegedly left an unnamed victim with injuries to her face and neck. So here's the statement from the police. On Saturday, March 25th, 2023, at approximately 11:14 hours, police responded to a 911 call inside of an apartment located in the vicinity of West 22nd Street and 8th Avenue, within the confines of the 10th Precinct. A preliminary investigation determined that a 33-year-old male was involved in a domestic dispute with a 30-year-old female. Kudos to him for keeping it within his age demographic, because nowadays, oh my God. The victim informed police she was assaulted. Officers placed the 33-year-old male into custody without incident. The victim sustained minor injuries to her head and neck and was removed to an area hospital in stable condition. Now, that was the initial report.
Yep.
This is what criminal defense lawyer Priya Chaudhry said in a statement after the fact. Jonathan Majors is completely innocent and is provably the victim of an altercation with a woman he knows. We are quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped imminently. All the evidence proves that Mr. Majors is entirely innocent and did not assault her whatsoever. Unfortunately, this incident came about because this woman was having an emotional crisis for which she was taken to a hospital nearby. The NYPD is required to make an arrest in these situations, and this is the only reason Mr. Majors was arrested. We expect these charges to be dropped soon. Now, according to Variety, Majors' attorney says there is evidence, including video and witness statements, that show Majors is actually the victim,
yes,
and is innocent, as he stated. The woman has allegedly recanted her story twice and is currently being treated for an emotional breakdown, and that it was Majors himself who had called 911 over concerns for her mental health.
Right.
So,
yeah,
a lot to unpack there.
Yep.
Obviously, when the news broke, it was Jonathan Majors arrested for domestic battery or assault or whatever.
Yep.
At that point, you draw conclusions. You go, well, shit, he's a shitbag. Fuck that guy. His career's over. As is, I mean, in the era of 24-hour news cycles and clickbait and buzz headlines and all that, I mean, I almost, and I was talking to a couple buddies of mine, and I almost like, let's see how this shakes out. Because obviously, no woman should ever be battered or assaulted or abused in any way, shape, or form, and should absolutely be believed. Because I don't believe in the victim blaming of all this, and like she shouldn't be abused, and she should be believed if she steps forward.
Uh-huh.
That being said, we do have to be honest for the fact that there are cases and situations where someone is a known entity and someone does or says something in order to profit and or hurt that person.
Right.
So it really needs to become of like innocent until proven guilty, you know?
Yeah. That's what it's
It,
supposed to be.
it's you know, that's it has to be. And even as a snap judgment, you know, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just me, but as a society, like there was a day where it's like bitches be crazy. Like you would automatically, you know, believe whatever side that was. And then times change. And then, and like me, like you want to believe the victim. I want to protect this person. I don't want a person to be hurt or mistreated. And just because someone's rich and famous, they shouldn't be allowed to have the power to do that.
Right.
But it really, all we can do is, I mean, wait to see the facts. But here's my question.
Okay.
How much of an impact do you think does this have on his career? Let's play hypothetical. It comes out, he is exonerated, he is 100% not at fault, and nothing was done. Do you think it still has a negative impact on his career?
I think to an extent, but I think the extent of which will determine on how loud the people that don't believe he is innocent can be, depending on how big that demographic is. And because money talks, right? So if the negative publicity is enough to cost studios money, it's going to hugely affect his career. It'll probably cool it down for a little bit, unless it's this seems different than some, because it seems like it's almost immediately getting clarified, as opposed to, and by immediately I mean not months later in
Right.
trials and whatever. So
Yeah.
I think that'll help it a good bit for sure. But I think there'll be a little bit of a ding for a while
Think
until
there's some
the
blowback.
dust settles a little bit anyway, because you're going to have a really loud group of people that are going to yell, no matter, because a lot of people, they don't want what's true, they want what's going to confirm their bias, right? And so and I think it depends on how big that group is going to determine how much it affects his career.
That's a fair point. It's a valid, fair point. Angry Elf says Johnny Depp. Look at Johnny Depp, man, and hopefully, you know, in that situation, I mean, it's only slightly different, I think, because you have two powerhouses. You have two well-known celebrities with two huge fan bases,
Right.
and it in that case, it really is a he said, she said. But like you said, they're, you know, we're getting the receipts early, you know, and I think that's gonna help quite a bit.
For sure.
But we've
But
already
even
seen, I was gonna say, we've already seen ramifications. Jonathan Majors was a big part of the Army's new push. They had and some of the best Army ads I've seen in a long time, like incredibly well done. They've already been pulled. Like the Army immediately, as soon as the headline broke, pulled down all the ads with him in it.
Well,
Which, I mean, they kind of have to, right? There's certain things where, you know, you kind of have to be like, well, if he's innocent, we can always put him back up. But if he's guilty, we need to get him down as soon as possible.
Well, especially since the armed service in general haven't always had the best reputation for safe environments for, what? That's crazy. That's crazy. Why would I even say that?
We're all rainbows and puppy dogs and hugs and
true.
kisses.
Yeah, but it's funny to me that I get it affected their career. It's ultimately up to the studios, but I'm also one of those people that he could literally have eaten a baby on TV, and if I like his movies, I'm still going to watch his movies. Like, I really don't care.
So you separate the artist from the person.
1,000% for any art, and I don't care how horrible the human being is. If I like what they do, like, it doesn't affect me from consuming that art.
That's a fascinating.
Are you really going to go the rest of your life and never watch Kill Bill again? Really? Are you?
No. But so no. Here's the thing. I think it might be an unpopular opinion, but I agree with you. I actually agree 100%. With you. When Michael Jackson was going through all this stuff, I was like, he's a monster. He's a horrible person. If these are true and he did these things, he's going to burn in hell. But still a banger.
Thriller.
It's still fucking killing it, you know.
No, but I mean, I'm like that in general. Like, I won't condone anything. Like, they're like, most of these guys are giant pieces of shit, but a lot of
Yeah.
artists and big and money and power. Like those guys are giant
Yeah.
pieces of shit, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they created a fucking masterpiece,
Yeah.
of some kind. So,
Yeah.
you know,
And a lot of these things, it's not one person, right? It's not because you can say Jonathan Majors, this movie is amazing because he's in it, but there's a whole slew of actors. There's a director, there's
right.
cinematographers, there's writers, there's like there hundreds of people made that thing. He might be an incredible talent. He might be once in a lifetime generational talent or whatever. But let's be honest, it's a team sport, right? Making any kind of film, media, anything is a team sport. So,
True.
you can, I think that's a case where you can separate the artist from the art or the artist from the person doing the art, if that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Tracking?
Sure.
Yeah, kind of.
Sure.
Somewhere in there was a point.
But all I'm saying, like let's take John Wick 4. If there's only if there's only one thing,
I love Keanu Reeves, but
I like Keanu Reeves, right? So whatever.
you can separate him from the art. You're going to hell for giving John Wick 4 a bad review. Just so you know, you're straight up going to hell,
dude. I already have reservations, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things, but yeah. So and this fascinates me because you have people that, again, you read the headline and immediately stamp horrible person, like before you even get the facts, which is a natural instinct to do, right?
Right.
If I see cops dragging a dude in handcuffs out of a store, I'm gonna be like, that guy was trying to rob the store.
Right.
It's instinctual for us to judge the accused or judge the person, being arrested, whatnot, before we get all the facts. And you start to get these comments. So let's say he's innocent. Let's say this is all whatever, and it's put to bed. There are people who have spoken up. So there's instances of people that they went on Twitter and they're like, oh, I went to Yale with him. I knew him back in NYC. And these are people publicly saying that he's always been a sociopath. He's always been a horrible person. And I'm amazed he's gotten this far without being caught or without being like found out. So is it a situation of, and again, I can see both sides of it. It could be a situation of, jealousy, right? Like we went to acting school together and this guy became big and I'm nothing and fuck that guy. And so I'm going to use this opportunity to badmouth him and bash him. Or could he be a horrible person and this not be something like, you know what I mean? Can it be both? Can he be a horrible person?
First of all, he's an actor, so of course he's a sociopath. That's
a horrible.
That's number one.
That's not true.
Yeah, but regardless of anything, yeah, I mean, it can always be both. Like people are inherently both, at any given time, where everyone has a capability of being the greatest thing ever and the biggest piece of shit ever. Like everyone is in that. Most normal people are in those categories. So,
yeah.
But so who knows? And who cares really? I mean, obviously the news does, and people that watch movies do, and people that care about things care about it. But whatever.
I'm sure there was a point in there somewhere.
There was not. I thought there was, but then there was not.
I was going somewhere and then I thought of something shiny and Angry Elf in the chat says anyone gets that. Haters gonna hate, right? Like that's a thing. That's a legit thing,
Players gonna play.
Yeah, like you get some for it. I'm sure you ask any person. I mean, shit, ask anybody with a social media platform. You're going to have people that are just going to shit on what they do because they're not happy with their own life. They're not happy with that person. Well, whatever it is. Look how much shit you give me. Social media. How many times have you told me to go fuck myself on social media? For real.
Oh, so many.
So many. Oh, man. Keep your enemies close. Or your friends close and your enemies closer. That's why I keep you in the bubble.
Okay.
So no, who are we? We're this tiny little thing here. I used to get people all the time, oh, why are you talking stupid movies and TV? I'm like, all right, bro, like seriously, you had the time to just bash because I'm not talking about something you want to talk. Like, how does that? But those are the people. Those are the people that will raise their hand and say,
Oh yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Well,
Like,
I just do this show so when I get off, I could just start texting my wife and Joey, be like, "Fuck this guy! I hate this show so much. Why the fuck do I do this shit?" That's the only reason. It's the only reason I'm here.
That's this is. I feel like at that point is that was it sadomasochism, like where you just enjoy hurting yourself? Is that what it is?
Yes.
You like torturing yourself.
Yes. Self-loathing all the way through.
It's either this or drag my bare ass across sandpaper. One or the other. I don't know. It's one or the other.
Or both.
Or both. Finish one, do the other. Let's see. Captain Wayne says, if you really were equal and it was an unbiased justice system, none of these rich people would ever do the things that they do that are obviously wrong. So what you're saying is because money and wealth and fame and these things skew to their side, they're predominantly more likely to do bad things
and get away with it. Yeah.
And because they know they can get away with it, they can afford to get away with it. That's the other thing. I mean, I heard so many people like as soon as he was arrested, he was like, oh, he's a bad guy. And then as soon as it was like, oh, she's recanting her statement and this and this, so many people were like, man, Disney must have backed up that money truck. Like start stacking the big money bags. He goes, so do you remember it differently now? And like another bag and another bag and another bag. I mean, I don't know, man. You know me, I'm the ever optimist. I want to believe that it's, I know how disgusting it is to always think the best in people, but I want to believe that it's all a misunderstanding and I do think he's an incredible actor. I think he's an amazing actor. I hate to say things. I do think that money and power and things, sudden rises to fame can sometimes have, effects on people, right? Mm-hmm. If you've always been the person that has been ignored and always been the person, you look at people that win the lottery, right? Like winning the lottery. You've never had nothing. No one cares about you. Then boom, you hit a $10 million jackpot and everybody comes out the woodworks, right? Yeah. And how many lottery stories end in disaster? They end up worse off than they were.
Most actually.
Most. Yeah. It is. I don't know. I don't like to talk ill of people.
I just out of all this, I just can't believe you don't believe that woman. That's what I'm shocked about.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. That hurts worse than anything you can say to me. I am an ally, man.
I'm sorry.
That's a kick below the belt.
You tell me not to edit. You tell me not to edit what's in my brain. So
well, touche. That is a low blow. On this show, that's the low blow.
That is a low blow. I'm sorry.
Mike Larson says he doubts Disney would pay for anything like that. And he recalled they canceled James Gunn quick when some old tweets popped up. Also, let's not forget, what was her name? Gina Carano. When she had her whole thing, she got dropped from The Mandalorian with the quickness. It's one of those things where it's a company and especially when it's a company that's, hey, this is a family first and family friendly and everybody's equal and all this and all that. They're going to protect their interest. At the end of the day, they're a business and they're going to protect their interest. Yep. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it all shakes loose. But we got a couple more minutes here before we have our guest who I know is standing by. But before we go to break, one last bit of news. Trying to think of what's a headline that you would care about. I know there's not much. There's not much these days.
I care about being here with you tonight.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, Scott. Okay, let's address this one. Scott made a great one. So Scott wants to know, do you think Justin Roiland will go back to Rick and Morty? That is a hard no.
But that's a hard no. That is a hard no.
That is a hard no. Here's the thing. Again, separating the art from the artist. Rick and Morty is one of my absolute favorite shows. Yeah. A lot of the stuff he's worked on and Dan Harmon's worked on, some of my favorite, Community and all these things. Great. It's hard to dispute the things that were brought to light. Again, I'm evidence based, right? I want to see
Right.
the evidence before guilt, and the evidence is there, man. It is very damning. And he said some horrible. Well, you can claim, hey, I was drunk when I wrote it, or I was this, or that. But if that's what you are without a filter,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be in a position of power. You shouldn't be in a position of wealth and fame. He targeting, again, I hate talking negative stuff, but like targeting young women and telling them horrible things. Obviously he's someone who's not happy with himself or something. What's it? Adult Swim, all that, they cut ties. They cut ties.
Yeah, 100%.
His own company, which like Squanch Games, I think is what they call it. They cut ties with him. And then again, remember we talked about this just a few minutes ago, when you're kind of at your bottom is when everybody kind of comes out the woodworks.
Yeah.
And so many people came out and spoke against him, and apparently like he wasn't even involved in Rick and Morty anymore. Like,
Yeah.
outside of voice, like he wasn't doing any of the writing. He wasn't doing, like, they're like, he would come in, like he didn't even come in. He would just email his voice parts.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
apparently him and Dan Harmon hadn't spoken in years. Like,
Damn, I didn't know that.
yeah, like all this stuff started coming out, and like, because it used to be like, oh, it was a 50-50 show, and they're like, nope, Harmon pretty much did all the writing and some of the voices and did all the stuff, and he just recorded his voices and sent it in, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But it's man, it's a tough position to be in, because when you have a juggernaut that Rick and Morty is, right? A literal juggernaut of a show that's making bank for a network like Adult Swim and Cartoon Network and all that. This is the kind of thing, I think a normal show, this is the kind of thing that would just destroy it, end it,
Right.
done, it's over. But they had I think they had like a 10-year commitment from Adult Swim, which is crazy to think that they had like a 10-season commitment or something. It was something astronomical, like never been done before. And again, luckily it's the kind of show where it's a multiversal show, so they could completely write off, like, why is Rick and Morty sound so different now? Like, the quantum tunnel of the, green ooze, and the fucking labor bug shot me with the venom, and now my voice is octave off.
Yeah.
You can easily do that. And there's been people I've seen like on TikTok and stuff where they're just throwing their hat in the ring, like, here's my best Rick and Morty, voice, and like just trying to get hired to start taking over the voice and whatnot. There's some good ones out there too. But yeah, so great question, Scott. Great question. I just think, given the amount of hard evidence and he, I don't want to say it's not like he just hit on an underage girl. Like, it's like, that sounds bad just like that, but it's like, there's just so much.
It's not like that's the only thing he did.
It's repeated behavior. It goes back years. It's from years ago to recently. So like, it's a pattern of behavior. It is, and so I won't even repeat some of the things that he had said. It's so bad. I'm a goddamn infantryman, bro, and I won't repeat some of the things he said, because it's
Damn.
so
horrific
and disgusting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, separating the person from the art, I think we can all still appreciate Rick and Morty and all the hundreds and hundreds of people that put in a tremendous amount of effort to make something like that come off the ground.
Yeah.
They'll find either a story loophole, or they'll find a different voice actor, and I think they'll continue doing it. But yeah, as far as him, I think his career in show business is over. I think it's,
I concur.
I don't see anybody, this isn't Robert Downey Jr. He went to jail for drugs and alcohol, but he's clean now, let's give him another shot. I don't think it's one of those situations. No. We're not going to see a meteoric return, a rise from the ashes for Justin Roiland. I don't see it. Yeah.
That's got dark. Damn. Good job.
Yeah. Way to end the hour on such an up note. I gotta read something positive just to balance out the scales of the universe. We've been waiting forever. We just got word that Secret Invasion, Marvel Secret Invasion, starring Samuel L. Jackson and all those, Emily Clark and all those people that are coming. It just got announced. Look at the notes. Where the hell did I put it? Don't you sigh. Don't you dare sigh. You will burn in hell. So Secret Invasion will premiere June 21st on Disney Plus. Woohoo! So excited. So excited. Bring me a little grit, a little espionage, give me a little intrigue. You know,
bring me another pointless Disney Plus show.
How dare you? How dare you, sir? Let me tell you something. I've met Sam Jackson, and he's a treasure.
Oh, he is. He is. That doesn't
Absolute
mean
treasure.
the show that he's in is not going to be a piece of trash, but Samuel L. Jackson is an absolute treasure.
You know what? We're going to toss to a break. I'm going to punch you in the throat. And then we will continue this discussion later tonight. We will continue this discussion because we're gonna have words, me and you. But all right, guys, we're gonna toss to a quick break. When we come out of the break, we've got the incredibly amazing voice actor Josh Keaton joining us tonight. I cannot wait. We've been hyping this up all night. It's gonna be an absolutely amazing interview. I cannot wait to bring this to you guys. So stick around, and we'll be back with more right after this. Massey, we'll see you after the interview.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see you guys after the break. Shut.
You're listening to the sounds of WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, you there? Yeah, it is right, you. Let me ask you something, right? Where the hell do you think that you're going? Oh, would you think because the show's going to commercial that means you get to just walk away? Well, CQ asked me to pass on the little message, alright? And it says, I'll be back.
After all I've done, do you love me now? Do you love me now? After all I've said, running through your head, do you love me now? Do you love me And if I told you
Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Pop Culture Warrior. Boy, howdy, I'm excited. My guest tonight is an American voice actor and musician. He's known for voicing young Hercules in the 1997 Disney film Hercules, Charlie Carbon in Kangaroo Jack, Good Day USA, Revolver Ocelot, who can forget, in Metal Gear Solid 3, Spider-Man, Electro, Harry Osborn in several of the Spider-Man video games and cartoons, Ryu Hayabusa in Ninja Gaiden 2 and forward from there, Shiro and Voltron, Legendary Defender, and so very much more. After looking through his resume, I honestly feel like I've heard this man's voice my entire life. Without further ado, everyone, please give a huge welcome to our guest tonight, Mr. Josh Keaton.
What's up? What's up? How's it going?
Yay!
On WTF.
Hey, man, thank you for coming on, man. I'm seriously so excited because when I first, I was trying to get you on and I was like, oh, I knew you had been in Marvel's What If and a few things. And then as I start like digging into it, I'm like, oh my God, I know this show. Oh my God. And then like going all the way back to like young Hercules, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, going
Like,
down the rabbit hole.
that was like, I was like, that was my childhood. I was like, I'm all puny and little, and like I connect to young Hercules. You know, I want to be the very best. Anyway, I almost started going into the Pokemon theme for some reason.
Sure.
But thank you for coming on, man. I'm so excited to learn all about you. First question out the gate, and we've got less than an hour, so I want to make sure we take the most of it. And you have such a long career. I'm literally going to nitpick through it. Out the gate. What is your military connection?
My brother-in-law Danny did 3 tours in Iraq, and so he was in the Air Force. He's back now, and he's settled in. He's got a bunch of kids, and he's just living his best life.
Oh man, God bless. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, please send along our thanks for his service. That's incredible. We appreciate it. Oh man, I have so much. I have so much I want to ask you about. First off, and I know you were kind of probably listening into the show a little bit as you were waiting, but obviously very pop culture, very what's in the news, what's happening. Let me ask you, what do you geek out about? What's your thing?
Well, I love comics. I was a big Spider-Man fan, quite obviously, and I love fantasy stuff. One of the things that was like a big tradition when they were new were the Lord of the Rings movies, and me and my little sister Danielle, because they would always come out around Christmas time, so that was kind of like our Christmas Eve tradition, was going and watching the Lord of the Rings movies, and Christmas Eve we would watch them. So that was like our thing. So high fantasy type of stuff. I was a big World of Warcraft junkie for a long time. Even before I got the role to play King Anduin in World of Warcraft, I was a player. I played the game, and we had video games, all kinds of video games, first-person shooters, open-world video games, Rock Band. I love driving games. I'm a big car guy. I like tweaking cars and modding things, and now it's become house stuff. So now I know how to drywall. I know how to do I try not to do electric because I don't want to burn down the house, but like minor things I'll do, but like big stuff I won't. But yeah, I mean, just honestly, the stuff that gets me really excited is just modding things, modifying things, learning how things work, learning how things go together, how they come apart, how you can tweak them, make them more efficient, whether that be computers, whether that be the way your house functions, whether it be cars, whether it be anything. I love that.
Oh, that's so cool, man. Oh God, we would just get along swimmingly. I really believe that.
Engineering for the win.
We're gonna be best friends after this. I always like to know a little bit, given that you have a platform, huge following. What charities do you support? Like what like what themes are you trying to help and align yourself with?
I'm a huge dog person. I'm a sucker for dogs. My last dog, Chauncey, who we had to put down right before COVID, he had congestive heart failure, and so he was kind of on borrowed time for like the last 3 years. And he actually outlived the doctor's prognosis by like 2.5 years. They gave him 6 months. He was kicking for almost 3 years. But after that, he was on so much medication, it wasn't fair to him to keep him going. And so that was like the hardest decision I ever had to make, was to put him down. And we did it here at home with the family and everything, right in his favorite spot. But that was really hard, and it taught me that I can't ever be without a dog. Like there's just the kind of companionship that I don't really feel like I get from anything else. So we have another dog, Bruce, and Chauncey was a rescue. Chauncey, he was like a rescue. He didn't even come from a shelter. He was a stray dog that followed us home, and we spent a month trying to find his owner, and nothing ever materialized. He had no chip, no anything. So we took him to the pound that he normally would have gone to had he been picked up, and we said, don't adopt him out. If nobody comes for him, we want him. So we had him for about 10 years, and then we found our current dog, Bruce, who was also a rescue. He was rescued from the streets of Tijuana, and they found a whole litter of these puppies. And we actually know when he was born because they rescued the mother who had just had this litter. And yeah, I mean, I just see how many dog rescues really struggle for resources, and how so many dogs just get put down because there's not it's not even that there aren't enough people to adopt them. It's just that so many of these shelters just don't have the budget to keep them going, and then there's so many budget cuts with the municipal facilities that so many of them just get put down. They can't find a home. They're gone, which sucks. And so yeah, animal charities, but particularly dogs. Like, I love dogs. And so that's probably one of the biggest ones that I like to support.
Wonderful, man. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Let's see. So did a little snooping, a little digging, a bit about your background, if the internet is to be believed, right? But that you were born just outside of LA.
Yes.
And I always feel like does that tend to like force the hand into the entertainment business? Like, oh, we're so close to Hollywood. Like, let's give it a.
So I mean, like, it's weird. My parents are the ones that kind of got me into it, and they weren't even in the entertainment industry to begin with. Like, it was almost like it was their dream, like, to have us in this. And I have three sisters, and my older sister was the first one that was in it. Like, they had put her in like beauty pageants and things like that, but beauty pageants are all rigged in terms of like the people that win are the people that pay the most to enter. Like, they don't just have the beauty pageant; they have like all these little side events, like the DLC. They'll have like the the best smile and the prettiest eyes and this and that, and like whoever enters the most of those is going to be the one that wins because they spent the most money to be in this thing. But the place that it couldn't really be fudged was the talent show. The talent portion of it's like, if you see somebody come on and absolutely come on and just crush it on stage singing, and then somebody that comes on that has no business doing a talent show but wins because they were in all these other things, people are going to be like, that's a little sus. And my older sister's a good singer, so she would always win these. And so that's basically, she got an agent through that. And she started going out on auditions, and I wasn't even there at this one audition that it was like a commercial, I think an Oshkosh commercial, and she was auditioning for that. And I was just there because my dad worked sometimes 3 jobs. He's a school teacher. He's teaches English as a second language. So sometimes he would teach 3 jobs, and my mom would schlep my sister around to auditions and classes, and then I had to go because who else was going to watch me? So I was there, and I was this real precocious kid. I would just go up and kind of talk to anybody. And the casting lady came out and sees this kid with these big blue eyes, and I go up right up to her and start talking to her, and I end up getting pulled into this audition that I wasn't even there for, and I end up booking this job. My sister didn't book it, and she probably still hates me to this day for that. And yeah, I mean, it kind of just started from there. So I was a child actor for a really long time. But yeah, I wouldn't say that like that there was a draw to it because I lived there. I'd say it was available, so it was easier to start out than it would have been had I lived somewhere else. Because if you live somewhere else, you're not going to grow up as a child actor unless you move out here. there was this place called the Oakwood Apartments that was like right behind Universal Studios, and that was kind of like the place where everybody would come for pilot season. And pilot season would be like the beginning of the year. They don't really have it anymore, but at the beginning of the year, they would cast all of the new pilots, the new shows that they were going to try to sell. And so kids from all over the nation would get dragged out by their stage moms, and they would all live at the Oakwood Apartments. And yeah, I mean, unless you were that, unless you had a stage mom that was going to bring you out, you know, unless you live in LA, then you're really not going to have the opportunity. So yeah, I wouldn't say that it pushed us into it, but it was there. So that's kind of how we started.
I got you. That makes sense. Um, let's and by the way, guys in the chats know the deal. They're already throwing in a ton of questions about Spider-Man, about Revolver Ocelot. So we're gonna get to those. Keep them coming. By all means. I want to set the foundation a bit. I want to give us a little bit, you know, get to that point. But we're definitely gonna get to those questions. So keep them coming, guys.
Nice.
We're gonna take a little. We're gonna skip over the as I'm doing my digging. I'm sorry. The whole 1990 boy band phase.
Oh yeah, you don't have to skip over that. Like that was a fun time, man. That was a good time in my life. I mean, kind of. There's some bad about it too. But
I'll only say to skip it over just because there's so much other great stuff that I really want to get to, and B, I feel like we could totally run on a tangent about whole boy bands in the 90s and all that. But moving past that, I'm curious. Before you, I mean, obviously this started at a very young age, right? You were Osh Gosh Bagosh commercial from practically in diapers. But do you recall when the switch happened of where like, okay, I do really want to make this a thing? And then also, I'm curious, what did you see for your future before you saw acting, before you saw the voice stuff, before you saw the on-camera stuff?
Oh man,
What did you think you were going to do?
before that, I wanted to be an astronaut. I seriously wanted to go to space, but like we didn't have money, like so I couldn't go to space camp. I couldn't do any of that kind of stuff. Like that, and not only that, it was kind like I said, my parents just kind of kept pushing this, and like I wanted to do other things. Like I wanted to, man, when I was growing up, I wanted to play video games. I wanted to play baseball. I wanted to. I wanted to go to space. I wanted to go to space camp, but it wasn't in the cards, you know, like who's going to take me to do all that when, you know, my sisters have dance classes and acting classes and this and that and auditions. So it was kind of like, I kind of had to, I was the only boy and there were 3 sisters that were all at dance class. So I kind of had to be at the dance studio. It's just how it was. I got shuttled to where everybody else did. And it's weird because like I went along with the flow for a very, very long time, even though for a long time it wasn't even really what I wanted to be doing. And by the time I got to be like a teenager and all of that, I started to see a little bit of success, which was really cool. And so I started kind of going to it with that, but I still didn't even really take it all that seriously. And then when I was in the boy band, like I enjoyed touring. I enjoyed doing all of that. I enjoyed singing like that. That was really something I enjoyed, but the business side of it really sucked ass. Like it was horrible. Like at least in acting, there's unions to protect you and to give you somewhat of a future. You know, you have pensions that you contribute to that are going to be there. You have healthcare that you contribute to so that you're not, you know, going broke because you get sick. Even though it's the healthcare just all over the place is awful. Even if you have good healthcare, our country really gets that wrong. But I mean, there's that, and then there's worker protections. There's all kinds of things that keep you from getting exploited and keep them from, you know, grossly profiting off of the work that you do without cutting you in on it, and limiting the hours that you can work, and safety regulations. Like there's a lot of good stuff in that. There's none of that in the music industry at all. It's a free for all. It's the Wild West. It's ripe with exploitation. So the music side of it, I mean, except for writers actually have it pretty good. Publishing companies really take care of their writers, but in terms of artists, you're on your own, man. And if you get signed to a really shady manager, which we were, I mean, I pretty much the entire nest egg that I had made from being a child actor, I blew getting out of bad music industry contracts. and just having to start from zero again. And I'd say, I mean, honestly, it wasn't even until I was probably in my mid 20s that I was really like, I really do enjoy this. Like, I'm not just doing this because this was what my parents put me into, and this, like, I enjoy doing this. And I started to take it more seriously. And then when I started doing more voiceover, like that opened up a whole new thing, because I was like, it's a lot harder to get typecast doing this, you know. And it was really hard for me to not get typecast in on camera, because there's always this gatekeeper that's like, you have to look a certain way. So I'm Latino, my mother's Peruvian. I was never really considered like Caucasian looking enough to do the dog whistle was all American parts. So I was never Caucasian enough to do that. I'd go in and I'd audition for those parts, and I'd always be like, oh, what? The first question out of their mouth was, "What's your background?" And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, guess I'm not gonna get this one." But then when I would go audition for the Latino roles, they'd be like, "Are you Latino?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And they're like, "But you have blue eyes." And I'd be like, "So?" Like, we come in all shades, all kinds of different eyes, and all that. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, so it was like, it was just weird how there was always this gatekeeper that certain people had to look certain ways in order for them to be portrayed on screen.
Yeah.
And I was always kind of in between the two categories. But there was so much less of that, and I mean, at that time, virtually none of it in voiceover, where if you could sound like the character, you could play the character, and that to me was so appealing. And so I got some, well, and it was this weird kind of twist of fate, because there was a writer's strike kind of in the early 2000s, where like a lot of stuff went out of production, but it didn't affect animation. So around that time, I got some pretty good roles. I got Spectacular Spider-Man, got a couple other things, and I mean, everything just started. The ball really started rolling with that, and I just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I feel you. Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Practically 100%. Always too white to be Spanish, too not white to be white. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like we can be from a lot of places, and we can look a lot of different ways, and that doesn't necessarily dilute what we are. You know,
Yeah.
it's a weird thing. It's a
I
weird
always tell people, yeah, my family must have been from the shaded side of the island. You know, we didn't get a lot of the sun. You know.
Well, my mother-in-law is Cuban, and she is like the palest person I've ever seen in my life, and she was like 100% Cuban. Like, she was literally one of the ones that came, one of the refugees that came on the Pedro Pan flights, which, for those people who don't know, like, people were so desperate to get out of Cuba that they literally sent their children on planes to come to the United States with nobody, no parents, nobody. They sent them on planes to come here. And she's like clear. she's the palest person I know, but she's
Translucent. We're translucent Americans. That's what we go by.
no, yeah.
And you're actually getting a lot of support in the chats already, saying like, I feel that I went through the same thing. Your nationality should not be a factor of getting a job.
It sucks.
Yeah. So rewind just a bit. You know, early '90s. I know you had a couple credits on like the Ghostbusters animated TV series, Captain Planet, Peter Pan. You got an episode of Batman the Animated Series, one of the best cartoons of all time. I don't care. I'll fight anybody.
Conroy.
And then as I'm looking through it, something that stood out to me, and probably I would assume is one of your earlier big roles, is you got cast for the Back to the Future animated series, which some people remember, some people don't. I don't know. It's one of those things.
I just showed my kids this show. It holds up even today.
It holds up. It holds up. 1991, Back to the Future. You played Jules Brown, the son of Emmett Brown. 25 episodes. I mean, I'm a huge Back to the Future nerd. You can probably see flux capacitor and out of time license plate. Huge Back to the Future nerd. So much so, I had to crack into my own little vault. Let's see if you appreciate this. I don't know. Hang on. So this is a film cell.
Hey, it's Jules.
There's your character. Yep. And you can see, these a real film cell, actually used on the cartoon. So hey, do you got any of those? You got any?
I do. I have one where it's got Jules and Vern and Doc, and then Clara over on the other side.
Nice. Yeah. My prized one that's sitting off to the side is I have the DeLorean. I mean, come on, that's the star of the show.
The DeLorean. I actually, funnily enough, live right by the Twin/Lone Pine Mall. It's the shopping mall by my house, and it's sadly dying. But yeah, I mean, I would go to eat there. I actually I just went and I got some Wingstop, the new sandwiches or whatever, and it's right past where Marty rolls down the hill.
Scott,
Yeah.
that's
It's super cool. Super cool.
shed a tear. That's the,
Yeah.
hey, all
I made the
malls
drive-
are
I
just
made the
dying.
drive to the parking lot. Like the gym is right there. The 24-hour fitness that I go to is like right there at the mall. So like every now and then I'll like make the drive looking for a parking space, and I'll be like, all right, gotta look out, gotta get to 88. But I don't.
Yeah, come right. I wonder if there's a lot of people coming around the corners just doing like trying to get to 88 on the backside of it.
I'm sure there used to be.
People don't appreciate it anymore. That's
Except
sad.
it's a forgotten mall. Like it's one of those malls that's literally just kind of starting to disappear, and like inside it there's like a dollar store and like some random clothes store that doesn't even have branding. It's like, you know, you see the walls that have like the slats for you to put the shelves in, the ones that just come stock. Like it's that. Food court has like 2 places you've never heard of, but they have a really good arcade. They have a really, really good arcade called
That
Round.
place should be a historical landmark. There should be, you know, statues. There should be convention. There should be the whole deal.
They actually
Okay.
used to have the DeLorean in the mall for like 6 months, and then it didn't even attract people. So yeah, it was sad. It was sad.
So sad. So coming out of that, you know, that you did have a couple of on camera appearances. You know, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, an episode of Boy Meets World, Sister.
I shit my pants on that show.
Well, that's what you're getting ahead, because this is what I want to ask. Because you say there's Dr. Quinn, Boy Meets World, Sister, Step by Step, Baywatch, Chicago Hope, a bunch of appearances. I was curious if you had any wild stories from those early days.
Oh yeah, I sharded in period wardrobe on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Basically, I had a little too much craft service, and maybe the cream cheese on the bagel wasn't really all that fresh. And you know, middle of the day, I started getting the rumblings, and I was playing like one of Dr. Quinn's snooty upper class Boston relatives, nephews or somebody, and so I was like in these the knickers, the short pants, and the socks, and I had like, you know, the little cap and everything. And I made the mistake of trusting a fart, and it was a very dumb thing to do. I immediately realized that the fart came with friends, and so yeah, I had to go into one of the bathrooms and just go commando the rest of the day, and never trusted a fart again after that. But yeah, I shat my pants in period costume.
I was gonna say, like, I mean, I guess depending, was dysentery still a thing at that time? Like,
I was
went
method acting.
so method, man. You went so method. My character has days to live. He's got the dysentery.
Yes.
It was a choice. It was a choice. You know, some would have said it was a dumb choice, but it was a choice.
I committed.
So 1997, obviously Hercules, and you play the voice. You're the voice of young Hercules. This was a monumental movie. I remember, again, it's part of my childhood. Like, I remember the fanfare. I remember, you know, Disney really pushed it. A movie that honestly I still holds up today. I mean, honestly,
Absolutely. It's really underrated for the time too. It wasn't like a big box office hit then, but since then it's found a massive audience. I mean, I get tons of people at conventions coming up to me wanting to just talk about Hercules.
Yeah,
That's
that's
Hercules. You know, the music is a fantastic soundtrack. It's I'm glad that it found its legs later.
yeah. I think it challenged all the things that had been set before. You know, the leading lady's not the damsel in distress. You know,
Right.
the villain. He's not like just like it was kind of funny. Like, you were kind of rooted for him a little bit. You know, the sidekick was this grumpy old man. Sound like there was just it broke so many norms, and I don't think people were ready for it. And like you said, I think it's found its legs, and I still love it to this day. Do you recall like like doing that? Like did you have a good feeling about it? Was it something that,
Oh,
you know?
that was like that was the biggest thing I had ever done at that point in my career, like by far. Like getting even though getting to be a Disney prince, like even though I wasn't the older one, like it still counts. It's still Hercules in Hercules. Like that was the biggest thing I'd ever done. um, that was massively exciting. Getting to go to Disney Animation and go record there, even though I didn't end up singing the song because I was going through a voice change, and they had this one high note that it was very hard for me to hold out as long as I needed to. Like now, they have. I mean, I have a whole. I basically have more computing power here than they. They didn't even use computers at the time. It was all done to the big tapes.
Hmm.
And so now, if they were to do it, it would have been me singing because if I couldn't hold it out that long, they just copy paste J Lo it and it's all good. Um, it would have been easy, but
Yeah.
that's not what they had back then. But I originally did do it. Like my mom has a cassette of me singing somewhere in the at her house, where it's a copy of me of the version of me singing "Go the Distance" with the orchestra. Like I actually recorded it with a live orchestra playing to me, which was crazy. Like I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. And then they didn't have none of it was computer. It was all hand drawn animation. So they had an animator who they introduced me to, and he set up a video camera who he was basically recording all of my sessions. So even though the concept art for Young Hercules looked nothing like me, when you watch the movie, it looks a lot like me.
Mm.
The way he moves, the way his expressions, the way his eyes move, everything. It's me. It's crazy. It's a little uncanny, and so that was an amazing thing to get to experience. Um, yeah, like getting to meet some of the people in the cast. They really treated us well um, for the premiere. They flew me, and I was still a kid, so I went with my mom. But they flew me and my mom out to New York for the premiere, and it was awesome. It was a huge deal. It was a big to do, and um, yeah, like part of me was like, in a weird way, I'm kind of immortalized as like this, as Hercules, even though it's just like the baby Hercules, the young Hercules. It's still Hercules.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that as prominent and as like, oh, you know, you never forget like big Hercules. Like for that movie, like I can just off the top of my head, I can remember exactly what he looks like. You know what I mean? It's not like this forgotten character. I almost look at it as the Lion King. You remember Simba being the cub as much as you remember him being, you know, the big
Absolutely.
lion. You know,
Absolutely.
it was that pivotal of a character for the movie. And if that character is not good enough, he doesn't set up the later character and deserve that kind of transformation. So that's awesome.
Sure.
Coming out of that, did you like is the temptation there to be like, well, I just had this mega big thing, like I'm going to the next mega big thing, or like what was the feeling coming out of that before the next thing?
Um, I mean, at that time, I still wasn't really focused completely on voiceover. I was still doing on camera, so as big of a thing as that was, like I still was kind of chasing that on camera show, on camera movie, something like that. But it was a big deal, and it was very exciting. Um, I would say, I mean, with with the entertainment industry in general, you're always looking for the next job. Like even today, even with all the stuff I've done, none of that really matters. You still have to audition for your next meal, pretty much. No matter how successful you get, you're always chasing that next job. So it was kind of like that back then. Like, yeah, it was something I could say, hey, I'm in that, and that's me. But it wasn't something that I could really just kind of hang my hat on and call it a day.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was going through the next thing that popped out to me was, and I hear there's a story behind it. I kind of want to dig into it, but uh, Spider-Man the movie 2002 comes out,
Yeah.
huge. The video game then comes out, the adaptation of the movie.
Yes.
And I know you're credited as Harry Osborn / Green Goblin for whatever, or New
Right.
Goblin for Spider-Man video game 1 and 2. But I heard there's a story behind it, and that you were supposed to originally be the voice of Spider-Man.
I was cast as Spider-Man. I recorded the entire game as Spider-Man. and then they got, I don't know if they just used audio from the movie or if he actually came in and recorded it. Somehow they basically got Toby. But they had already recorded the game with me. So they didn't want to waste all of that audio. So they basically put in essentially a reskin where if you beat the game, you unlock this version where you can play through as Harry in the Green Goblin suit, but it's really just Spider-Man. Like they had me come in and re-record a couple things just so contextually it would be Harry. But I mean, that was maybe 10 lines of pickups, and the rest of it was pretty much the same audio from Spider-Man. And then for a while after that, I was kind of the de facto Harry. So they hired me just outright to be in Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man video game. And then I got hired to be in this brawler video game called Spider-Man Friend or Foe, which was actually a really fun game. It's a super simple game. It's a lot of the same recycled enemies, a lot of the same attacks. The levels are just reskins of a lot of the same levels, but it is so much fun because all you're doing is like pounding the shit out of stuff. You can do these team up attacks so that like, you know, you with this character is going to have one kind of a team up. Like it's a really fun game. It's like, I don't want to sell it short because as simple as it is, it's just a mindless game that you can just smashy, and it's so much fun. But I got cast to be Harry in that. And James Arnold Taylor was cast to be Spider-Man in that, who ended up being Harry in Spectacular Spider-Man. So there's just this weird flip-flopping of spider people that was happening.
It's kismet, man. It's fate. It's fate. So I guess what I'm curious is, because you were cast to play Spider-Man in the game, had you already seen the movie? Like, did they give you a reference of like, hey, this is how Toby sounds, we want you to mimic it? Or was it just, you're going to go your own route with the voice?
I always went my own route because there's certain things that you have to hit to be Spider-Man, to be Peter Parker. There's just kind of like a certain sandbox that you have to play in, certain character beats that you need to make sure you nail. Otherwise, it's not Peter Parker, it's somebody else. But within that, Spider-Man was like my favorite comic growing up. That's what I read. So I always had a voice in my head for Spider-Man. And like this was my chance to do it. And so as much as like I wanted to like, yeah, I mean I listened to some of the movie and all that. So if there was anything that was like really, really from the movie, I'd make sure to try to like, you know, nudge it a little more in that direction. But at the end of the day, it's like I wanted it to be my version. You know, I want it to be the voice that's in my head when I read the comics. So, you know, but that's along with that. There's still, I wouldn't be being honest if I said that I wasn't influenced by other portrayals of Spider-Man, for sure. I mean, even coming back from Paul Soles or Dan Gilvezan or, you know, well, this was the one that I never really was influenced by, and it was mainly because I was doing, when it was really, really in its prime, I was auditioning and doing all kinds of other stuff, was the 90s Spider-Man, which I've only, like, in the last 10 years really started to watch and love. And that's like the GOAT for a lot of people.
It is.
But that, funnily enough, was not one that was really very much on my radar when I was doing my thing. And I again, like being a Spider-Man fan, I'm like, I gotta watch the show. You know, it's still Spider-Man, and this is like somebody that is the GOAT for a lot of people. So I'm like, I gotta see it. I gotta see it. So, and it's a great show.
The heyday for cartoons, man. When you had like Batman, you had Spider-Man, X-Men, Gargoyles, like great animated shows, man. They just don't make them.
Yeah, like DuckTales, and I love
Darkwing Duck. That was my jam. Anyway, we go down that rabbit hole. I gotta point out, because like there's so many questions there's so many people calling it out in the chat. 2004, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. Yep. You come in and play young Revolver Ocelot. Is that a weird thing to step in? Okay, this is a character that is well established, one that is instantly recognizable to all the fans. It's right up there with Solid Snake, you know, as far as fan popularity and love. Yeah. And they're like, hey, we want you to do this young version of him. Is that daunting? Is that weird to step into another character like that?
It wasn't, because I was completely ignorant of the Metal Gear Solid franchise when I stepped into the world. I had no fucking clue how big it was. I'd never played it. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know who Hideo Kojima was. It was something that I don't even know if I auditioned for it. It was, I think I might have been direct hired on it by Chris Zimmerman Salter, who was the voice director, and her husband at the time, Patrick Zimmerman, was the original voice for Ocelot. And so she knew me because I took her voiceover class. It was her and another voiceover director named Charlie Adler, also voice actor Charlie Adler. And they taught this voiceover class out of Hanna-Barbera. And I was like the only kid that was ever in that class. Mainly because Charlie Adler has the foulest mouth on the planet. And so, like, I wanted to do it. One of the few times I actually said, hey, I want to take this class. And my parents are like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. So they took me over there, and Chris was like, we don't have kids in our class. And they're like, but he really wants to take the class. They're like, we don't have kids in our class because my partner Charlie has a very foul mouth. And my dad curses a lot. Like, he has a foul mouth too. So, my parents are like, it's probably not any worse than anything he's heard at home. It was a lot worse than everything I had heard at home. But, I rolled with it, and they didn't really hold back on my account, and I had a great time in the class, and I've stayed in really close touch with both of them since then. Like, they're great friends of mine. And I can't remember auditioning for it. I almost think I might have auditioned for it. But either way, I knew it was Chris Zimmerman directing it. I was very comfortable with her. And she basically just kind of, whenever I was doing what I thought needed to be done, her only direction was cockier, cockier, cockier. And so she just kept turning that knob up. And that's where we got Revolver Ocelot.
Wow. Yeah.
And because I had no idea how big of a deal it was. It wasn't until after the fact that I was like, oh my God. And it was kind of a similar thing with What If. Because with What If, like, I've done voice matches for other people before, and I've voice matched Chris Evans before. So it was just kind of like, I did my homework, I did the thing. And it wasn't until after I had already finished recording the stuff for the season that I found out that it was going to be canon MCU. And then I was like, wait, what? Because there were only like maybe 4 or 5 people that weren't the original cast members to come back. And so I was like freaked out, because I was like, okay, if this is going to be canon MCU, they're going to freaking hate me because I'm not Chris. And this is the same guy that they've been hearing for a decade. And now here's this random voiceover guy coming in, and I'm like, they're going to like roast me over the coals. And for the most part, everybody was like, everybody was super nice. They either said one of two things. They said, I didn't know it wasn't Chris until I saw the credits, or I knew it wasn't Chris, but you were a great Cap. You sounded like Cap. So I was like, all right, I'll take it.
Wow. Oh my God. I can't imagine. Okay, we're going to get to that, because I can't imagine that. But
had I known ahead of time how big of a deal it was, and had I known what Metal Gear was, it would have been a lot more daunting, for sure. I think sometimes living in that ignorance is kind of a saving grace.
Ignorance is bliss, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
So a question from the chat is, shoot, I lost it. Where'd it go? Did you? Did you personally do Ocelot's meow roar summoning call?
The meow, yeah, I did do the meow.
Yeah. Now I mean, you're not a dancing monkey over there, but people are like, I need to hear him do the meow.
A long time, but
I was gonna say,
they did put like another actual like tiger or something sound effect underneath, but it was kind of like a wow, something like that.
I just had a flashback. Oh my God. It's so weird hearing it in my head. I
remember asking him, like, do you want like a roar or like a meow, like a cat meow? And they're like, no, just a meow. I was like, really? So like, wow.
I can imagine you're sitting there, you're like, the
I'm
things
like, there's no way they're gonna fix that. There's no way.
I get paid to do this. This is this is a strange job I have.
Yes.
So okay. Again, so I'm jumping all over the place because there's just so much. You've had such an amazing career. 2008, Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yes.
What a huge, like, I mean, at this point, again, like you said, the 90s kind of Spider-Man that had like cemented itself as like this is the pinnacle, this is the bar. But there were some really great other versions. The Ultimate Spider-Mans and the different even Spidey and Friends, like all the different age demographics, different styles and whatnot, all had their merit. But still, getting the nod to say, hey, we are entrusting this beloved character, this worldwide known, worldwide loved character. So the question was from the chat, how was it being a Spider-Man fan, getting the chance to voice him in the Spectacular Spider-Man?
Well, it was a dream come true. It was like literally probably like the number one thing that I had on my bucket list that I was able to check off, and it was one that I had to like re-add because like I got to be him in the movie game and then not. So it's like, yeah, Spider-Man, awesome. I can be I got to be Spider-Man. And now I was getting cast to headline this show, and not just any show, like a show by the guy that made Gargoyles, and it was such an amazing experience. They had such a great supporting cast in that. Everybody played their parts to perfection. The art style was amazing. The action sequences were incredible. The music was great. There was so much fan service in the show. Like little things, like the fact that nobody in the show that had a name was not from the comics. It didn't matter if it was just like a janitor somewhere. If they had a name, there was an issue that Greg could pull out and say, this is the issue that this person was from. Like, who does that? Seriously, who does that? Nobody does that. And that's that for people like me that really, really loved and ate and breathed this stuff growing up. Like that's like respect, that's something that you look at and you're like, this person really was writing a love letter to Spider-Man fans in general, to the whole world of Spider-Man. Like there were even there's a ton of examples where within the context of the story animation, they'll recreate iconic covers within the show. Like stuff like that. Like, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And getting to be a part of that show, not just the Spider-Man show, but that one.
Yeah.
Was a treat.
That's always something so awesome when you get a little bit of that. Because you don't want to go too far in the fan service, but just when you get just little things where you go like, oh, that was for me. I saw that.
They don't really call it out. It's something like they don't. It's not like they advertised. Oh, in this one we're gonna have a cover from the. No, it's just like it was just in there. Yeah. And the sharp-eyed viewers are gonna be like, that's this issue. Holy shit, and they're gonna geek out about it.
Damn right.
It's something that that was never even really pushed to the forefront. It was just there. And when something is made with that much care, it's like I'll look at like my electrical panel in the back. I love that electrician because 99.9% of people are never going to remove the panel cover from their electrical panel. They're just going to open the door. They'll see the breakers if they ever have to flip something. But if you take that panel cover off, every single breaker is landed perfect 90-degree angle. No slop in any of the stuff. Everything is perfectly like zip tied and routed. And everything, all the bends are perfect. Everything is beautiful, and no one's ever going to see it. That's pride in work. That is pride in work, and that's shit to be proud of, And that's how I feel about Spectacular Spider-Man. Like, it didn't matter whether it was going to be under the hood or not. They put in the time, they put in the detail, they put in the care because they all freaking loved Spider-Man. Everybody on the show loved Spider-Man, and I think that really showed in the show.
Yeah,
and that's why, like 13 years later, people are still like, "This is my show."
That's so cool.
I'm biased. It's always going to be my show, but I mean, that's why it's my show. Even if there was some way that you could take me, Josh Keaton, out of the show and still have like the same some other random Kosh Keaton, whatever, doing the performance, and I'm a big Kosh Keaton fan. it would still be an awesome show, even if I had no personal interest in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything was just done to perfection on that show.
That's so good. In an interest of time, we're gonna have to fast forward a couple, but
Okay.
honorable mentions, because I do shout out Ninja Gaiden, Ryu Hayabusa, the Green Lantern animated series. You got to do Hal Jordan, Green Lantern.
That one got axed so quickly.
Oh, it needed more. There's not enough Green Lantern material out there. 2016 Voltron, Legendary Defender. How freaking awesome! Do you get to be a part of the Voltron?
That was amazing.
The 2017 Avengers Assemble. Your Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're just going from like powerhouse to powerhouse to powerhouse. It's crazy. And I want to jump to 2018. One of the biggest games for like a year, 2 years, Spider-Man, that came out exclusively for Sony PlayStation. You got to voice and mocap for Electro. My first question is, why not Spider-Man? Why not Spider-Man? But was that your first kind of foray into mocap? Had you done any of that before?
Oh no, I'd done a bunch of mocap before that. I did. There was a game called Mad Max. It wasn't really a movie tie-in game, but it was around the same time. And I mocapped this. He was like the leader of the first settlement that you go to. His name is Jeet, and he basically, he was kind of like a tweaker. Like he would have all of these. He would have these like crippling headaches, so he had like all these shards of metal just kind of like poking out of all these areas of his skin, so that like when he would get one of these headaches, he would twist on that piece of metal so that the pain from that would take away from the pain in here. He was an interesting character, and that was the first thing I ever mocapped. And then there were a couple games. There was Knack 1 and 2, and I was the character Lucas in that. And so so I mocapped those. Really fun games, by the way.
So
they became kind of a meme after a while.
What doesn't?
Yeah, well, what doesn't? But they were fun games. They still are fun games. They're the games that actually taught my kids how to play video games, which was like, I think it says a lot when you're able to, as a kid who can barely hold a controller, pick up a controller, learn to play on this game, and now they're like pros. And at the same time, it can still be a challenge for adults. Like the first one, I would say, is almost a little too punishing. It's kind of like, I don't know how old you are, but it's like back from when I was a kid, and like, if you died on the level, there were no checkpoints. You started at the beginning of the level, and so it was kind of Ninja Gaiden was like that.
Yeah,
very much like that.
Punishing.
So the original Knack was a lot like that. Knack 2, they kind of seemed to take all of the complaints that reviewers had, and they fixed them. So Knack 2 is an even better game.
Yeah.
Those were the first two that I really mocap, or the first three that I mocapped on. And then there was, I can't remember if I did Horizon Zero Dawn before Spider-Man or after Spider-Man.
I think it was after, based on my research. But so at this point, you'd done a lot of heroes, couple villains and nature. What was it like as a Spider-Man fan? Electro's one of the Sinister Six. He's one of the big ones. Yeah. What was it like stepping into the role of was it Max Dillon of Electro?
It was. I basically just had to. I had to figure out a way to make myself not sound like Spider-Man, because Spider-Man was mostly my voice, pitched up a little bit here and there, but mostly me. And since I wasn't playing Spider-Man in this, and people still knew me as Spider-Man, I'm like, I need to make him sound a lot different, like a lot different. So, he's a working class guy. He's a New York guy. So, I made him kind of more of this kind of guy. And, I'm like, yeah, that'll change it up enough. Funnily enough, not the electrician that did my panel, but a different electrician that I had hired in the past sounded like that, because he was actually from New York. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make him sound like that electrician. And so I did. So Electro is an electrician in real life.
I played him like the electrician.
I played him like the electrician that rewired the GFCIs in my kitchen.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
so a question in the chats, and we're not going to try to get anybody in trouble here, but are you able to say part 2? I mean, we're going to see a little Electro? Maybe are you in there? Can you say anything?
On the second one, so probably not. Yeah,
Okay, fair
probably
enough.
not. Yeah.
We gotta get you like we gotta do like a because I know you did a couple of
Risk
this.
is, the kids are growing fast, and shit's expensive. So
I was gonna say I know you did a couple of the Spider-Man games because you did the oh Christ, I'm drawing a blank now.
and
Alternate dimension one,
yeah, and Marvel versus Capcom 3.
Marvel versus Capcom, and which I love those games. I really did. So we got to figure out a way to, bring you back. Alternate dimension Spider-Man coming in. With the movies. I mean, come on. One of the biggest movies upcoming is Spider-Man. Was it Across the Spider-Verse is coming out? It, I'm sure you couldn't say if,
I hope
but wouldn't it be cool if Spectacular Spider-Man joined in at some point?
I mean, they put him on the poster. I mean, granted, there's like 100 Spider-Man on the poster, but like, freaking put me in the movie, man. Like, come on.
Throw a line in.
It's been 13 years. Come on, Jerry. It's been 13 years.
I mean, how hard is it to you email a line like, "Hey, watch out," or so I don't know, something that
something
off camera, he yells out, like, "Oh, I know that voice." So question from someone just came in: did you have more fun playing young Hercules or Spidey?
Oh, Spidey. Well, it's hard because like everything's relative, right? So the fun that I had when I was playing Hercules is probably pretty comparable to the fun that I had when I was playing Spidey, because when I was playing Hercules at the time, that was the hugest thing I'd ever done. I'm still a huge Disney fan. I still love Disneyland. Like I mean, that was like I grew up like listening to it was like, were you old enough to remember books on cassette? Okay.
I'm an 80s kid.
They would have like the read along, the kids books, the read along books on the cassette where you would read the thing would read along, and then it would get to the end of the page and hear like a bring, and you'd turn the page and it would go to the next thing. So I used to listen to these things probably till I was a teenager. It's probably why I ended up doing what I'm doing. But like there was something comforting about just listening to those stories to go to bed, and they were just very well done and very simple, and like I'd put them on and be like, I'd be out. So Disney was still a huge thing to me, and at that time, like Disney was, yeah, like that was super fun. That was the biggest thing I'd ever experienced. And so now, if I was to compare them, I mean, no, you know what? I'd still probably have to say Spidey, because I was Spidey. I worked as Spider-Man for much longer than I ever worked as Hercules. Hercules was, it was a long process because 2D animation is a long process, especially for the movies and all that. But yeah, I mean, the amount of time that I spent doing that was nowhere near the amount of time that I spent working on Spectacular Spider-Man and working on all the ancillary stuff after that. So yeah, still Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Still Spider-Man.
Do you have a little bit more time? Can we hold you for a few more questions?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to hold you way over, but I definitely we got questions pouring in, and I have a couple more that I want to ask as well. But from Angry Elf in the chat, he said, "I just realized Josh has played Spider-Man in more projects than Toby, Andrew, and Tom combined."
Hey, look at that!
I mean, you are a quintessential Spider-Man through and through. Pete asked, "Do you play the Spider-Man games? Do you ever play them?"
I actually haven't played it yet, mainly not because I haven't wanted to, but for a long time I played World of Warcraft. And the thing about World of Warcraft is that when you play World of Warcraft, it becomes the only game you play. And so that, coupled with kids, and a marriage and work and all that, like I not only didn't play anything else, but I didn't watch anything. Like I got real behind on stuff. My wife and I couldn't really watch some of the things that we wanted to watch because the kids were too young, and we didn't want to risk them coming in during like a scene that was going to traumatize them. So there were a lot of things that we kind of fell behind on that we're only just now starting to catch up on. Movies, TV shows, stuff that came out in the last like 6-7 years that is like old hat now, but like it's new to us. Like we're finally catching up on it. And that for me now is video games, because after Shadowlands, when Dragonflight came out, I basically said I need to take a break from WoW because I need to catch up on other video games, things like things like Spider-Man, things like just other things that have come out that I haven't gotten a chance to play. The Horizon games, like all those, um, all things that I wanted to play. My wife played a bunch of them because she's a gamer, and she never got into WoW. So, I mean, she's like always telling me, "You gotta play this. You gotta play this. You gotta play this." I'm like, "I know, I know." And so now I'm finally getting to them, and now I can share them with my kids because they're awesome gamers themselves.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. From Scott, he says, "Is there ever a temptation of like buying a collector's edition game, let's say, signing it and then selling it?"
I mean, kind of, but like, there's also the fear. Like, all maybe not all, but most actors have like the imposter syndrome where we're always like in the back of our heads, no matter how successful we get, we're always thinking it's any day, any day, any day. Everybody's gonna figure out I'm a fraud and I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. It's just it's gonna happen any day, any day. And so there's still always that like that little insecurity in the back of your head, like, what if I do this and nobody buys it? Or like, what if nobody bids on it and I'm just like stuck with this thing that I signed? And how lame is that that I bought this thing so I could sign it for myself? And
I
yeah,
mean,
like
and isn't that like that's the convention circuit, right? You make
yeah,
appearances, you take pictures, you sign
exactly.
things.
And
I
there's
mean,
always people that come up and ask me to sign, but it doesn't really change the feeling. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, I
Control
understand.
get anxious about like nobody. It's like it's the stupid games that our brain plays with itself.
Right, I understand. Okay, a couple more things more recently. So we touched on it a bit, but what if Steve Rogers, Captain America? I mean, I loved it. I loved it. I loved the fact that it was canon. If we couldn't get the original voice actors, I think we had Mick Wingert on.
Yeah.
We talked about it. We like you guys knocked it out of the park. I mean, really, truly did an amazing job. How cool that after all these years of being in the Marvel universe and being in the DC universe, like you are in the MCU. You
Yeah,
are
that was pretty cool. That was really
legit.
cool. Yeah.
And I'm sure season 2 coming. I know you probably can't talk about anything. There's gonna be we know how it goes, NDAs and whatnot. We hope to see more of you. I'll put it that way. We hope to see more of you in there. So speaking about Mick, though, it calls to mind a question because he voiced Iron Man and
Yes.
Tony Stark in What If. Now, I happen to know you voiced Iron Man in 2020's Iron Man VR as
Yes.
well as 2022's Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
Who did the better Iron Man? Just curious. No
Well, I
friends
think
here.
trying to do different things because he was doing RDJ
Right.
and very accurate like that. Like he's a master at 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 being RDJ. He's also a freaking master at being Jack Black. Have you heard his Poe?
Yeah.
It's uncanny. Whereas with Iron Man VR, and also with Midnight Suns, they specifically did not want to do a Tony Stark alike. Now, again, that being said, the man defined that role.
It's hard.
Like
It's hard not to.
before it would just be, I mean, personally in my mind, because he's my Tony Stark, it wouldn't really be fair to the character who he made what it is. Like, yes, there's decades of Iron Man comics. He's always been around, he's always been somewhat popular, but he wasn't necessarily like this A-list character
Mhm.
until Robert Downey Jr. came in and put his stamp on it. And so there's always going to be some of him that is just now ingrained in the DNA of that character. So it would be kind of dishonest to not have some of what he brought to it in it, without necessarily trying to do a not an impression, but like a voice match or a sound alike.
Right.
So
There's got to be that
we're
almost that homage to it.
like yeah, like an homage, but still kind of putting your own spin on it.
Right.
And I know that Mick does that as well, but he's far more accurate in terms of like really replicating the Robert Downey Jr. ness that the MCU had.
Yeah.
Where
We
I wasn't necessarily trying to go for that. I wasn't trying to, do the dinners and all that. Like I wasn't trying to do that.
right.
It's just different. Like one is a very very true to the material RDJ, and mine is just kind of a fast talking douchebag.
I think it's true to the comic. I think yours is true to the voice of the comic book character versus the live action version.
I appreciate that.
But and we talked to Mick about this too, about how like he's doing a Joker voice for animated show, kids show. But the idea of like
Bat
you're
Wheels?
gonna Bat Wheels, exactly. So you're gonna naturally, he's like Mark Hamill's is a Joker voice that you can't
Right?
not have a fingerprint on the character.
Yeah.
Even though it's aimed at kids, like you just gotta.
I mean, there are certain people who come along and they put such an indelible stamp on the character that forevermore they are going to be associated with it.
Yeah.
And it like I said, it would feel dishonest to the legacy of the character to not at least have some of that influence in what you do.
Yeah.
It's just I completely understand that. I agree with that 100%.
There's a great call out by Pete in the chats who says, so at this point, you could shoot an Avengers animation show all by yourself, right? You've done pretty much all of the characters.
Yeah.
You do like a one-man show.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, is that once all the voices are kind of in the same room, then you can kind of hear how it's the same guy. I mean, there's some that are going to be a little bit more separated than others, but I remember I had this one convention. It was a Transformers con like 2 years ago. And somebody asked me to have like this improv discussion between Peter Parker and Jack Darby from Transformers Prime. And I'm like, they have the same voice. I'm like, they literally have the same voice, because when I went to go and figure out a voice for for Jack Darby, I'm like, this guy's literally Peter Parker without the superpowers. And but instead of like wanting to have them, he wants nothing to do with it. But like, they're both about the same age. They're both kind of like these little outcast guys, not popular and all that. I was like, they sound the same. I'm like, you want me to have this conversation between two people with the same freaking voice? I'm like, how are you? Oh man, that was rough. That was rough.
So to close it out, the last one I just want to touch on real quick. You were in Tales of the Jedi. You played the Senator's son in an episode of Tales of the Jedi,
I
which
only got to in Star Wars.
which means you have like closed out all the major. I mean, you're in Transformers, in Marvel, in DC, in Star Wars. I mean, what franchise? Did I miss Lord of the Rings? Are you in that? You in Harry Potter? Like, what's the next big franchise you're gonna tackle?
I really wanted to do My Little Pony, but that's in Canada. You gotta be a Canadian to do that. So.
Fair enough. We got the DLC for, I don't know, Hogwarts, the Harry Potter game. We got to get you one of the characters. You'd be a professor in Hogwarts. Star Trek. Somebody called out Star Trek. Are you gonna jump to the Star Trek universe now? I mean,
Maybe.
what is it? Okay, we can't. We'll play yes. So just as a because we didn't have time, just some other voices that I noticed in your resume: Cyclops, Human Torch, Spyro the Dragon, Robin, Nightwing, Shazam, Aquaman, A-Bomb, Flash, Barry Allen, Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, Hulking, Speed, Steve Trevor, Jack of Jack and Dexter, World of Warcraft characters, various. I mean, sir, you have voiced some of the pinnacle of voices of characters. That's incredible. Is there a voice you haven't done yet that you're like, I'm dying to take a stab at that voice?
It's hard. It's hard because I have gotten to play a bunch of them. And then the ones that I really, really like, I already have like friends who are voicing them already and who are doing an amazing job. So, oh, well, you know what? I just got cast in this anime that's actually going to come out April 14th. It's called Suzume. And it's by this really, really acclaimed director, Makoto Shinkai, who's had like 2 massively successful movies. And I got cast to play the male lead in this, who for a big portion of the movie gets turned into a chair. So I am going to be voicing a chair come April 14th. So that's a new one.
I mean, yeah, I didn't see chair on your resume, so
It will be now.
that's awesome. My God, let me last seconds here. Where can people follow you? Where can people show support? What can people expect? What can people look forward to coming up?
All right. Well, I can't talk about a lot of the stuff that I'm have coming out that hasn't specifically been announced, but I am Tony Stark in Marvel's Midnight Suns. That's out right now. I am going to be the male lead in Suzume, which comes out on April 14th, and that's actually coming out in theaters. And then let's see, you can follow me on Twitter at Josh Keaton. You can follow me on Instagram at Space Padre. That is also my Twitch name, Space Padre, and I Twitch usually on Sundays. Play video games, chat, whatever. And let's see. I have a TikTok that's the Josh Keaton, and my YouTube is just Josh Keaton. And yeah, those. Oh, and I also have a cameo. So if like you want to have me do a shout out in character or whatever, if you want me to say something as Spidey, I'll put on the mask. But yeah, I have a cameo. It's just cameo.com/Josh Keaton. And yeah, I think
that's all of it.
that's up.
I did want to point out, guys, you got to check out his clips on TikTok and YouTube. There's some great stuff. I saw singing the Spider-Man songs. I love that. That was awesome. Loved it. And I was gonna say, yeah, if for all those people that were like, have him say this, have him say that. A, the man's not a dancing monkey, so I'm not gonna ask him. But B, go check out his cameo. Get your personalized.
So yeah,
yeah, get your personalized shout outs, man. Let the man do some work. But Josh, man, this was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. You are forever a friend of the show. Anytime we can get you back and geek out, we'd love to have you back and just talk more about your career, man.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Had a great time.
That's God.
And what's up to everybody in chat?
Yes, I'll give you the last 5 seconds. Say goodnight to everybody, and we'll toss it to a break, and we'll say our goodbyes.
All right, chat. It's been a pleasure. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the week. Come see me on my socials. Come hang out with me on Twitch. And yeah, I'll be letting you all know all the new things that I'm doing on there. So
outstanding. We're gonna keep an eye out for it. All right, guys, we'll be back with more show right after the break. Shuts.
You're listening to the sounds of WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, you there? Yeah, it is right, you. Let me ask you something, alright? Where the hell do you think that you're going? Oh, would you think because the show's going to commercial that means you get to just walk away? Well, CQ asked me to pass on the little message, alright? And it says, I'll be back.
After all I've done, do you love me now? Do you love me now? After all I've said, running through your head, do you love me now? Do you love me told you everything, I bet you cry and run away.
Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, everybody. All you cool cats and kittens out there. How y'all doing? CQ here. I'm going to bring back my co-hostess with the mostess, who I forgot to plug into the system because I'm an asshole.
It doesn't matter.
Hang on a second. They can neither hire you or say you. Let's see if I fix that quickly. Come back to me. There you are. Hey, Massey. Welcome back.
And I thought your guest was a prick. Jesus. No, I'm kidding. He was I enjoyed the interview.
What a nice guy, man. It almost gave me the feel of like if they gave a fan the ability to play with all the toys, right? Like taking a kid who loves the toys and then taking him to like the factory where they make them or the place where they test them. Like, oh, here's all the new things. And like you get to play with it. Like that was the feeling I got. Does that make sense? Like he's just a kid who loves to play with the toys, and they just keep letting him in the freaking the designer room to play with the toys.
And the span of shit and him hitting like all these franchises it's insane.
It really is. Pete had a great. He's like, you could just do the Avengers by yourself, but it's true. It's he made a great point. Like once you stand these characters next to each other, and they all. Wasn't there was a Family Guy episode where they did that, where like all the characters voiced by Seth MacFarlane were in a scene together. So it was like Dr. Hartman and like all the characters that it's like, wow, you kind of sound like me. And he's like, no, you kind of sound like me. And they did a little, a wink to the audience. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that shit. But
yeah, well, it's like what you talking about, like Roiland earlier, like watching Solar Opposites on Hulu, which I loved Solar Opposites, but it took a couple episodes to get Rick Sanchez out of my head, from the vocalist. But
it's exactly. When you know a voice so well and it's so distinct, it's like it walking doing any character. Like any movie you see him, you're not like, wow, he's just like Alexander Graham Bell. Like, no, you're like, wow, that's Christopher Walken doing Alexander Graham Bell. Like,
right.
Like it just, there's few actors like your Shatners, your Walkens, Samuel Jacksons, where they're just, I don't care what character they are. Great actors, but you're not losing yourself in that character. You're like, that is absolutely that actor doing that, Adam Sandler. Although he can, there's some roles where he really acted the shit out of it, but most of them, it's like that's Adam Sandler doing the thing.
Oh, for sure.
We left off on a conversation I'd like to pick up on.
Okay.
And I believe
it wasn't a conversation as much as me making really good points, but
it was mostly you just sighing and grumbling and mumbling under your breath about things that I was excited about, if I recall correctly.
That's the same thing.
Yeah. So tell me, what is your issue with Disney Plus, with the Marvel shows? Please, but enlighten me. What is your problem with it?
It's not so much a problem. It's a problem. It's a big. It's as soon as Disney took over the franchises, they do what they always do. They splinter and fracture to make as many income streams for it as they can, which is great from a business standpoint. No arguments there. But as somebody that enjoys, if you're really in the fandom, I guess it's probably really good as well. But if you're like me and I just enjoy Marvel movies, if you feel like you missed stuff in between with all these other shows that tie them together, and you don't miss enough to make it to where you can't not watch it between movies, but there's enough nods and enough stuff that goes on, and I don't have time to watch all that garbage. And some of it's not even that great. It's cool to see some characters come alive, but it feels like they're making them just for the sake of having content. Or it's like, well, we don't want to throw as much money into this character as we would a movie, but we still want to have some of this character. Well, yeah, this doesn't really fit, so we're going to throw this multiverse bullshit in so we can still kind of make it fit. And it's stupid. It's all stupid is what it is.
I mean,
WandaVision, man. WandaVision. Come on. On. Moon Knight.
Really?
Moon Knight. Come on.
You almost had me. You almost I was coming around to your side, and then you picked
No, I hit those.
ones.
I
Yeah,
I hit those specifically for you.
no,
But it's but
those no, no,
I'm giving you.
no.
I didn't like Moon Knight. WandaVision, I was giving you shit about, but Moon Knight, I could have done without a lot of Moon Knight. But
I don't know.
um,
I feel like so here's the thing.
because he's a cool character, he deserved more than the bullshit portrayal than what he got in the show.
Portrayal,
Deserved
yeah.
more than portrayal. Thank you.
English.
Fuck.
No, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. All right. Marvel took a chance with doing stuff like Iron Man, Captain, Thor, Hulk before they were proven commodities, before
Uh-huh.
they were breaking the mold. And obviously, call it the Marvel formula, call it whatever you want,
Uh-huh.
you stamp and paste and push out and
Right.
rinse and repeat. I give Marvel credit
Mm-hmm.
because they could have easily kept pumping out, superhero movie after superhero movie, or like, with the Daredevil series and the Punisher series and the Luke Cage series, where they're all kind of gritty guy gets power in the street, fights the bad guy to win back the street. Like
I have my
you
own
could,
problems with that too. But
yeah,
yes,
you could see the repetitive nature of these things. I really felt that while not all bangers,
Mm.
they were at least trying things.
Okay.
Trying things with Moon Knight, trying things with WandaVision, trying things with Kamala Khan in Miss Marvel. Some closer to the formula. So like your Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a little closer to the classic formula. Loki was a series where they really went
Yeah.
for broke. So I feel like they're testing. This is it. Honestly, and everybody's kind of giving them shit, and I get it because it's hard to go from Endgame, which was such an incredible piece. It was a payoff after 10 long years, and then they're going, well, fucking WandaVision wasn't that good. Like it's like, A, you can't compare those two things.
No, you can't.
It's not fair.
No.
B, it's like, again, they're like, okay, let's try something different. This is like going back to phase 1. When Iron Man was a new thing. It's absolutely.
You're giving them way too much credit for just trying to capitalize on and make
mean,
money. Because they're gonna it's gonna be like everything. They're gonna oversaturize the shit out of the franchises, is what they're doing. Instead of making every character appearance special or
Mhm.
unique or something, or like having some crazy cameo in a movie of a character that you've been dying to see, they just kept throwing shit at walls to see what sticks, and eventually it's just going to be all. I don't know. It loses its luster.
Okay, let me
They're
ask you
doing the
this.
same thing with Star Wars. Doing the
Do you-
same thing with Star Wars.
Do you not think it's
I don't think.
typically, I know you don't think, but in this case, do you not think that whereas in the past, let's say someone like Moon Knight would have been relegated to like a cameo, or think like Punisher when he was introduced in Daredevil, where it's like he's this character, he just kind of comes in, he does his thing, and now he's like the fact that they're giving them their own show to explore the character, explore the lore, let them stand on their own, let them develop their own life and history and things, to then bring them into the fold later. Like, would you prefer that, like, hey, in the next, like this is how they did in the past, right? Like, think about how they introduced why am I drawing a blank? Like Hawkeye, how he was introduced in Thor, right? One scene, guy with a bow. It's like, oh, hey, radio, Hawkeye, you there? And it's like, well, okay, Hawkeye's established in the MCU. Like,
Wow.
but now to say that if it were happening today, you'd have a Thor movie, and then you'd have a Hawkeye Disney Plus series, and then maybe, they would cross or whatever. Like, I think it's, again, while they're not all going to be AAA blockbusters, and they're not going to be all the best thing ever, like, I guess I live in a mentality of like, I grew up loving these characters on the comic books, and I grew up loving these characters in the cartoons when we got them, and they were never done justice as far as like movies and things like that. They were never done in the primetime TV shows or the movies that they were in. And like, I'm just happy to get them as content, right? In what world 5, 10, 15 years ago would Miss Marvel the little girl from New Jersey who's Pakistani would be a leading star. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is true.
So I don't know. Growing up again, maybe I didn't grow up Midwestern or whatever. Like I grew up in New York City, so I grew up in, not saying you. I'm just Billy Joe Bob. Like I grew up in New York City. I grew up in the ghetto, and I was a melting pot. I watched day in day out Pakistani people, Dominican people, blacks, white. Like I saw everybody, just in this melting pot. And it's true when you look back 10 years ago. It's like, oh, here another white superhero. Woo! Rich white superhero wins the. Like you never saw people of color. You never saw. So I don't know. I like that we're again. I'll be the first to admit
because Hawkeye and WandaVision were both good representations of people of color. Come on, man.
Mean,
come on, man.
I mean, first of all,
mm-hmm.
that WandaVision was meant to be like a period piece, so they were true to the form. Remember, they were like it was like 60s TV and 70s TV and 80s TV. Like they were capturing the elements of that, and let's just true to form.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm just saying that little young CQ dying for some diversity to superheroes was just waiting on Hawkeye to come out on Disney Plus.
I mean. Yeah. Hey, we're getting a black Captain America. God bless America. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, man, I'm good for that stuff. I guess, in all fairness to your argument, some of the B-list characters do deserve a place to live as well. I'm giving you that.
Yeah.
But
wait, what would you prefer? Let me ask you this: what would you prefer? So,
I prefer a world when only what I want to happen happens. That's
what is it? A 1.5 hour Moon Knight movie where it's just a beat 'em up. Right, he's introduced, he gets powers, he beats up the bad guy, and or give him a Disney Plus show where you can explore the lore and explore the characters and put some intrigue and put some mystery and develop a character. Right? I don't know. I
have no problem with it. I have no problem with it. I like the Disney.
So
I like the Disney Plus shows. They're fantastic. I love watching all of them.
I
win. You win from pure exhaustion.
Oh,
no, the
man.
thing is,
I will beat you into a submission.
no, honestly, it's not so much that I have an issue with. It's more of I have an issue with Disney and how they do business with franchises, right? Or what it's become. But I get that that's what it's become because the whole thing, for a long time is. Like you said, when Marvel kind of pushed out with Netflix, right, with their series like with Daredevil and Punisher Defenders, like I loved where it went until like Iron Fist just ruined everything for everyone, and then they tried to do season 3 of Jessica Jones and blah 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 blah. But I liked where they were going with that. But again, it just kind of all fell apart. And I get kind of where Disney's picking up, right, what they're trying to do with it. It's just it feels so watered down and disingenuous. I guess that's. I hear
you. No, I hear you.
Because it doesn't feel like a series. Not that everything to me needs to be dark and gritty. Like I prefer like characters like the Punisher to be in the place where the characters of the Punisher need to be, like that dark and gritty. But I don't know, man. It feels very disingenuous to it's a blatant money grab as opposed to just giving a characters a voice and the very pretty way that you're putting it of these characters having a way to explore these characters and develop them and exist in this world of diversity and love.
So let me ask you. I will give you the floor here. Let me ask you. I hear where you're coming from. And yes, they're absolutely pumping these things out because you can make toys and cereals and T-shirts and money.
It's the entertainment industry. That's what it is.
So at what level would you feel it's not for the money or it's not disingenuous? It was like, if we release one movie and one show a year, is that being genuous? It's like, where does the line of like,
oh, there's not one. It's just the level of my annoyance.
It's like every movie they release, that's it. It's just a money grab. Like
no, it's all a money grab.
Okay, let's hold them accountable. Like Marvel, Disney, you guys will allow you 2 movies and 2 shows a year. After that, it's just a money grab. All right, we're gonna call you on it. Where's the line? You know
what it is, CQ. You know what it is?
Because fucking Netflix, let me tell you, they keep pumping out movies I think it's just a money grab. I think it's just a money grab.
And canceling all of the good shows that come out after a fucking season. God damn it! Like, was it the Olympic? What the show is that with the superhero people that was all dark and shit?
Yeah.
It's a great show for like a season.
Yeah.
No, it's not that I have a problem. Really, I'm just complaining because I don't have time to watch the things I want to watch, and makes me angry that there's more things that come out that I have time to keep up with. So go fuck yourself, CQ. Thank you very much.
Keith says you can't forget at the end of the day that they are a for-profit organization, so it's always a money grab of some kind. Yeah, I mean it's true. Look,
I'm not denying that.
And I will say this. To the credit of Marvel, and I know I give them way too much credit as is. You know, to me, if you're saying it's strictly a money grab, it's like just throw a dartboard at a character, fucking whip something out and put it out. But like I love watching like the making of and the back, and you see like they hire people that grew up reading the comic, right? They hire you know, and especially Marvel's really good at this, hiring the writers from the source material to be on the shows.
That's what they want you to think.
But you can spot the difference when, listen, no, seriously. So The Last of Us on HBO, right? When you get the creator of the game to be a co-creator of the show, that's telling me you have reverence for the material and you have trust that that's the right person to bring it to light. Then you wonder, like, why did the fucking Resident Evil series not do so well on Netflix? The fucking guy that wrote it never played the games. Halo, the series, while it's okay, it's not terrible. They're like, yeah, we've never played the games. They have no idea who the characters are. So, like, that to me, then you have the right to say that's a money grab. Am I wrong?
No, but my mission has 1,000% been accomplished for this episode.
To get me all riled up. Listen, I hate to sound like a Marvel fanboy because although I do like their product, like I would love James Gunn's gonna do Superman. I'm excited to see what that looks like, right? I like James Gunn as a creator, as an artiste. I'm a little worried that he's like triple hatting, you know, CEO / creative director / now going to be director and writer of the Superman. So that makes me a little nervous when you're juggling too much. But like, I'm excited to see his version of Superman. I want a good Superman movie.
Yeah.
I want a good Batman movie. I am not against DC. They've just been frustrating the shit out of me because, you know, they're like, you know, we're gonna take, you know, let's make Superman super angsty and like and kill people and like destroy cities. Like that's something fresh, right? Like that's just not Superman. Like that's just the fucking shit. Fuck, that drives me nuts.
Well, maybe HBO Max will start making, you know, more DC series and just crank those guys out. You know,
I mean,
they already have to. They already have been. Yeah,
they're kind of. I mean, you look, they're working on the. They're doing the well, there was a Gotham show that got scrapped, and then that became
Doom Patrol. And
there's unfortunately, I'm sad they're leaving because I feel like Doom Patrol had its place to be weird and quirky, and it was fun. Even the Titans was good, a little more teen drama ish than I would have liked, but whatever, that's fine. But yeah, they're doing the Batman spin-offs based on the Matt Reeves Batman. They're doing those. It was supposed to be a Gotham PD thing.
Not to be confused with the Keanu Reeves Batman.
God, I would love to see Joker. Come on. God. I'm Batman. Like, you just be like, come on, guys, hurry up. We got to break into the vault. I am vengeance. I am the knight. Like, I'm Batman.
Oh, I love it.
Jesus Christ, Keanu. God bless him. My favorite Keanu fact is that did you see the Key and Peele Keanu movie about the cat? That Keanu Reeves did the voice of the cat.
Yeah.
Which, if you remember, the cat just went meow because it's a fucking cat.
Right.
But it was Keanu Reeves did the voice of Keanu the cat, which I just love that.
That's wonderful.
Fucking love it. God bless him.
This has been the best last few minutes of my life.
I think if I check my heart rate, I think you might have got me slightly above resting heart rate. So kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. There's one. You're not big into like video games and stuff, right? You're not that much of a gamer.
I used to be, but not as much. Yeah.
What was your? Let's poke fun at what you like. What was your go-to?
Ooh, which era?
Money grab. Money grab. It was the money grab. Whatever your answer is, it was money grab.
I really got under that skin a little bit tonight. I like it.
Oh God, I
no, like
love
back,
forward to.
depending on how far back you want to go, like
Most
Super
recently.
NES.
Yeah.
Oh, most recently, the last game I was super into that I played through was Breath of the Wild. Like the
Okay.
full game that. So I'm waiting on the new one, Tears of the Kingdom. You know.
Yeah, because Zelda's never pushed out a bunch of fucking sequels for
never
for money.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, but the thing about it is each aspect needs really its own development. You need to really explore.
Sure.
You know,
You have to bring people in that were passionate about the source material.
Right. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you can't work on a new Zelda game if you haven't played the old Zelda game.
Yeah, exactly. It's how it works.
Obviously.
It's how it works. But no, like back in the day, dude, I still think one of the greatest games ever made was Earthbound.
Oh yeah.
On the Super Nintendo, Chrono Trigger. You know those. I like those games back in the day. But
that's old. Oof.
Man.
You're pulling deep.
Hey man,
deep.
Hey, like I said, back in the day, I used to play, but I feel like even the definition gamer has changed significantly since you and I were youths.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Because gamers back in the day were like RPGers. Those are the hardcore gamers.
Yeah, it was either platformers or the RPGers. Dude, word games. Remember fucking was it Zork?
Dude.
You were like
text-based.
you're in a room. Look left. There's a door. Go through door. Door's locked.
Yeah.
Fucking shit.
They had like Mist that came. It was kind of the same concept, just clicking. I also love the point and click, like all the LucasArts games, like The Dig and Sam and Max Hit the Road, and was it Full Throttle? Was Mark Hamill was the voiceover in that one? Some of those games.
Oh man, that's old. God damn.
Yeah, man.
I heard there somebody bought the rights to, you probably don't remember, System Shock, which was a great I think it was like on Sega CD. I remember it was like one of the few games that was actually really good on Sega CD, but just read somewhere that they just bought the rights to it. I'm like, the game is like literally fucking 40 years old.
Did you ever think though in our youth that you would see Sega becoming a third-party developer as opposed to a hardware?
Oh man, yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one, you know.
I didn't think I would see it. I thought they would be a staple in the as a younger kid, and then writing on the wall type of thing later on. But
you're absolutely right. No, like did you think you see a day where there's Mario and Sonic in the same game? You know what I mean? Like in whether it be the racing or the fighting, whatever. But it's
I
crazy.
I want to see a Neo Geo reiteration. Bring some Samurai Showdown back, motherfuckers.
Dude, Sega's due, man. The Dreamcast system was ahead of its time.
On point.
That was my God.
Because Tony Hawk was what I had. Was the first game I had on Dreamcast, and yeah, it was a great system.
When it had the little plug-in it was a memory card that could also like act as a Tamagotchi by itself. Dude, ahead of its time. Because you could take your save, fucking go to someone else's house, plug that bitch in. Like it was ahead of its time. Ahead of its time. God damn.
Yeah, really you still want to make fun of my old school gaming nerddom, asshole?
Was it Jet Set Radio? That was my shit, man. Jet Set
Radio.
Radio.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that game.
Oh man, that was the jam. Billy says I'm an Oregon Trail kind of guy. Hey,
nice.
Hey, I'm with it, man. I'm with it. I remember. Okay, now I'm gonna date myself. I remember in school our first
computer lab.
I remember the first computer we ever got, like in the school, and like it came with Oregon Trail. And then I think it was like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire on disc. And like and it was all pixelated. Like it didn't look like Regis Philbin. It just looked like a bunch of white dots and
that's basically Regis
Philbin. Yeah, a bunch of white dots. Oh man. Yeah, somebody said the Nokia, the worm game on the Nokia. Yeah, that's old school. But anyway.
Yeah, baby.
Dude, this has been a shit ton of fun, man. Thank you for You Don't Know Jack. Yes, You Don't Know Jack. That was a great one. You guys are awesome. Medieval Dynasty. I don't remember I gotta look that up. Medieval Dynasty. Guys pulling out some old shit.
Commodore
Um,
64 Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair. God
Mission.
damn.
Was it Impossible Mission? Because
Couldn't do Mission Impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I don't want to get sued. What was that? I remember like Leisure Shoot Larry from
Yeah.
way back.
Yep.
Way back. But all right, well, shit. Fucking one way to end the show. For those that missed out the earlier portion, definitely go back and watch because you can see me fucking giving this guy the business. But also, just as a reminder, as I reach off screen, it's just as a reminder, we got a bunch of copies of Way of the Cobra by Sean Kanan. I always want to say Cannon, but it's Kanan. Sean Kanan. Way of the Cobra as well as Welcome to the Kumite. Signed copies of their book, of his book, and signed headshots also. So we'll be doing a giveaway, like I said, probably not next week because we have a guest, but the week after we don't have a guest, and I think will be a fun day to do giveaways. So that'll be fun to do. Have I forgotten anything? Get your merch at pcwgear.com. PCWGEAR.
I'm wearing mine.
Totally got that from the website. What else? I'm doing a new segment on the social medias for big fans of the show, for super supporters. Just giving them a little bit of thanks, shout outs on the social medias, just as a thank you for being awesome. You guys are great. I mean, somehow there's still 20-something, Jesus Christ, 20-something people watching, damn near 3 hours in. You guys are ridiculous. Thank you.
I appreciate their support.
They're all here to see you. That's usually, if you're not here, it's like 2. And
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Well, shit, man. Massey. See, Billy says Massey really ruffled your feathers tonight, huh? All right. All right. That's okay. Turnabout's fair play.
Yeah. I consider this a win.
I'll find a way. I'll push some buttons. Who are you fans of? Because I'm gonna make sure I get them to interview on days that you're not here. Who are your big fans of? Just wanna.
You're not big enough to interview the people I'm fans of yet.
Zing! All right. Angry Elf says yes. I'm here for the Puddle Pirate. So there you go. You got fans, man. You got fans already. All right, real quick, let me just shout out the rest of WTF Nation Radio. I'm going to bring up a graphic. This graphic brought to you by the fine folks at WTF Nation Radio. You can see here we have shows practically all week, starting with Sunday nights. We have the Sports Bar with King, Smith, and Coach. Obviously, self-titled. It's about sports. They just talk sports. But they talk about life too, man. They talk about sports and life and how the two intercede. Monday nights, we got Ice and co-host bringing you the Monday edition where you get your news, your commentary, your discussions, what's happening in the world, the politics, global economics, all of it. They want to hear from you and what you think. Tuesday nights right here. You know it. You love it. Massey's an asshole. Once in a while, he's funny. It's Pop Culture Warriors with CQ and guest. Wednesdays, we've got the Smoke Pit. That's where all you E4 Mafia degenerates hang out, talking with Radar and TZ about all you lower enlisted things. You know who you are, you degenerates. You know who you are. Thursdays is Sergeant's Time with Ice, and I gotta get up to date on who's the co-host now. We're always shuffling things around, but. Ice will be there. Sergeant's Time. That's your big sergeant stuff. Here's your big NCO. Us important folks. That's what we're talking about. Things about the military, big army, and whatnots. And then we got Friday Night Freedom closing out the week with Kaz and Pookie. And that's I don't know how to. You can't put Friday Night Freedom in a box. They just are. They just do. They just have fun. It's a good show.
It's the bald podcast.
It's the what?
It's the bald eagle of podcasts.
The bald eagle of podcasts. Okay,
all right. Can't hold it down.
That's fine.
Yeah.
They're like, I was gonna say they're like the taint of our network here. They really they kind of hold it all together, right? You just,
bald eagle and taints are synonymous. Those trash fucking dumpster birds, man. Come on.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, for all. Oh God.
This is your fault. This is all your fault.
Where did I go wrong? I can specifically think of one place.
Yeah, me too.
All right, guys. Oh. Listen, if you're gonna be drinking on air, you gotta at least remind me so that I can bring some of my own. Because 3 hours of me and you drinking, I can only imagine what's gonna happen. So next time remind me.
Well, how about this? If I'm here, I'm drinking.
If you're invited back, you'll be drinking.
Yes.
Got it. Got it. All right. All right, guys. I think what better way to close out the show than that? I mean, this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and man, I don't know how to put a button on this one. I really don't know how to just ease on out of this. So yeah.
Tune in Disney Plus every Friday night, 8/7 Central.
My other co-host likes to go, yeah, tune into us as long as This Is Us is not on at the same time. You know, if This Is Us isn't on, then you should be right here.
Yeah.
Oh God. This guy says, if you're gonna drink, might as well get them to sponsor you. Yeah, I don't think they'd want to sponsor any part of this. I don't think they want any part of this. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Massey, you wanna say goodbye to the guys?
Yes.
Anything to close us out?
Yeah. Nah, thanks for having me back on. I enjoyed it. It was nice to to see you get a little flustered in other ways there, Tiger. But thanks for having me on. Your chat group is pretty fantastic. Even though I have to believe that you're actually reading what you're getting.
Oh yeah, nobody actually watches this. I'm just making this. This is my multiple personalities. There's literally.
That's fair.
I'm not entirely sure you're real. I could be hallucinating this whole fucking thing, for all I know.
Oh, trust me. What we have is real, sir. What we have is real. No, thanks always for having me, man. I had a fucking good time.
All right, guys. You guys are all awesome. Thank you for making Tuesdays like my favorite day in the week. God bless y'all. We'll be back with more craziness next week. Actually, real quick, I should announce who's coming on next week. If I'm correct. Oh, this is going to be a good one. I have for you guys next week. It's unfortunately not going to be a live interview. This has already been pre-recorded. But when I can guarantee you it is good. It's really good. I sat down with the incredible Vincent Vargas, Rocco from the Mayans MC, incredible actor, also a veteran. We had just the banger of a conversation, and something happens in that interview that I can't wait for you guys to see and can't wait to talk about. So tune in next week as we play the episode with Vincent Vargas. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. And we got a bunch more great guests coming up. Quick shout out to comedian Brad Williams. Dude is hilarious. Another prolific voice actor, David Sobolov, who, among other things, was the voice of Gorilla Grodd on the Flash TV series. And then legendary actor joining us, Joe Mantegna, is going to be on the show.
Nice.
I mean, we've got, and I've got just a shit ton of other people that are just looking for a date right now to book. So
fantastic.
Guys, thanks for having a great time. Did you shart yourself? I came close. I
already told my shit myself story, so it didn't happen tonight, though.
One of these nights, we're going to get you. One of these nights. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys more next week. Massey, pleasure as always, and we'll see if you get invited back.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Shots.
Oh no! We're too late! We missed it! Oh jeez, this is heavy. Ah, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Doc, I got a time machine. I'm just gonna punch in the coordinates. Pop Culture Warrior, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WTF Nation Radio. Now crank this bad boy up to 88 miles per hour.
Let's see it.